Hey Dead Signal FM viewers, getting ready for bed? Wishing you a calm and cozy night. Before we start, where are you watching from and what time is it? Let's get started. The reflection in room 341. I didn't want the job. That's what I keep coming back to now, as I sit here in the dark, listening to the scratching from behind the wall. I didn't want the job, but I needed the money. I wonder if that will matter to whatever is coming for me. Started 3 weeks ago. I'd been unemployed for 5 months, laid off from a decent admin position at Northwood Medical, along with 15 others. The economy was shit, and I'd been sending out applications daily with nothing to show for it. My savings had dwindled to almost nothing, and the rent was due in 10 days. That's when I saw the listing, Hotel Night Manager, Bellamy Hotel, competitive pay, immediate start. The pay was nearly double what I'd been making before. Too good to be true, but I was desperate. I sent my resume without much thought. They called me the next day. Ms. Collins? This is Vivian Ward from the Bellamy Hotel. We'd like to invite you for an interview regarding the night manager position. Her voice was strange, pinched and breathy, like she was speaking from the bottom of a well. I almost declined, but she mentioned the salary again, and I found myself agreeing to come in that afternoon. The Bellamy Hotel wasn't what I expected. Located on the outskirts of town, it was an imposing 7-story stone structure, built in the 1920s according to the plaque by the entrance. I'd driven past it countless times, but never really looked at it. Now that I was standing before it, something seemed wrong. The windows were too narrow, the angles of the roof too sharp. Like a child's drawing of a hotel, almost right but fundamentally incorrect. The lobby was deserted except for a thin woman behind the reception desk. Her gray hair was pulled back in a severe bun, and her face was oddly symmetrical, too symmetrical. She looked up as I approached, and I noticed her eyes were different colors. One brown, one a pale, washed-out blue. "Ms. Collins," she said in the same strange voice I'd heard on the phone. "I'm Vivian Ward. Thank you for coming." She didn't offer to shake hands, which was fine by me. There was something about her that made me want to keep my distance. "The position is quite straightforward," she explained as she led me through the lobby. "You'll work from midnight to 8 a.m., 5 nights a week. You'll handle any guest needs, monitor security, and perform an hourly walkthrough of each floor. The hotel is rarely at full capacity, so most nights are quiet." We stepped into an elevator that smelled of copper and something else I couldn't identify, like wet soil and old books. The buttons ran from B to 7, but I noticed there was number 4. When I pointed this out, Vivian's lips twitched into what might have been a smile. Many hotels omit the 4th floor. In some Asian cultures, 4 is considered unlucky, associated with death. I nodded, though I was pretty sure this was usually done in Asian hotels, not American ones from the 1920s. The elevator stopped on the 3rd floor with a jolt that made my stomach lurch. The hallway was dimly lit, the floral wallpaper faded and peeling in places. As we walked, I could have sworn the pattern shifted in my peripheral vision. Flowers blooming and wilting in rapid succession. "It's just stress," I told myself. "You're desperate and sleep-deprived." Vivian stopped at room 341. "This is our management office," she said, unlocking the door. "You'll spend most of your shift here, monitoring cameras and answering calls." The office was small but functional, with an old desk, a computer setup with security monitors, and a small kitchenette. What caught my attention was the full-length mirror on the wall opposite the desk. It seemed oddly placed in an office. Vivian must have noticed my gaze. The previous manager installed it, said it helped to prevent cabin fever during the long nights. She paused. "We could have it removed if you prefer." "No, it's fine," I said quickly, though something about the mirror made me uneasy. The reflection seemed delayed? No, that couldn't be right. The interview was brief. She asked about my experience, my comfort with working nights, my ability to handle unusual situations without elaborating on what those might be. Before I knew it, she was offering me the job on the spot. "When can you start?" she asked. "Tomorrow," I suggested, thinking of my nearly empty bank account. Vivian nodded. "Perfect. Be here at 11:30 p.m. for training with our current night manager. He's leaving at the end of the week. As she escorted me back to the lobby, I noticed a guest for the first time, an elderly man standing by the fireplace. He was perfectly still, staring directly at me with milky, cataract-covered eyes. I smiled politely, but he didn't react, just kept staring. "Don't mind Mr. Gaines," Vivian said softly. "He's been with us since 1972, longest-staying guest. I wanted to ask how anyone could afford to live in a hotel for over 50 years, but something in Vivian's tone suggested the conversation was over. As I drove home, a sense of unease settled over me. The job seemed too easy, the pay too good. But I needed it, and it was only temporary until I found something better. That night, I dreamt of the mirror in room 341. In the dream, my reflection was smiling when I wasn't. The next evening, I arrived at 11:25 p.m. The lobby was empty. The only sound the soft ticking of an antique grandfather clock that read 11:37. My watch said 11:25. I assumed the clock was wrong. "You must be Rachel." I turned to find a gaunt man with deep-set eyes and hollow cheeks. His name tag read Daniel. "Yes, I'm the new night manager." "Lucky you," he said without a hint of humor. "Come on, I'll show you the ropes." Daniel's training was perfunctory. He showed me how to use the ancient computer system where the emergency protocols were kept and how to operate the equally ancient switchboard. "Most nights, nothing happens," he said, his voice flat. "You might get a call or two for extra towels or a noise complaint. Just do your hourly rounds and you'll be fine." "What about check-ins?" I asked. "We don't do late check-ins. Anyone arriving after midnight has to wait until morning." He paused. "If anyone does try to check in after hours, do not give them a room." "Understood." The intensity in his voice startled me. "Understood. Good." He glanced at his watch. "One more thing. The hourly rounds. You need to check every floor, every corridor." But he hesitated. "If you see something strange, ignore it. Don't engage. Just complete your rounds and return to the office." "Strange like what?" Daniel's eyes darted to the mirror, then back to me. "You'll know it when you see it." Before I could press him further, the phone rang. Daniel answered it, listened for a moment, then hung up without speaking. "It's midnight. My shift's over." He stood up, gathering his things with unusual haste. "One last thing. Room 341, this office was once a guest room. If you hear anyone knocking, don't answer. Never answer." With that cryptic warning, he was gone, leaving me alone in the suddenly too quiet office. "It's just a job," I told myself. "Just a weird old hotel with weird old staff." The first few hours passed uneventfully. I familiarized myself with the computer system and security cameras. The hotel had 121 rooms, but according to the records, only 23 were currently occupied. Most of the guests were long-term residents like Mr. Gaines. At 1 a.m., I did my first round. The hotel was eerily silent as I walked through each floor. My footsteps echoed on the marble floors, and despite the summer heat outside, the corridors were cold. I completed the round without incident, though I could have sworn I heard whispering behind one of the doors on the 5th floor. Back in room 341, I noticed something odd about the mirror. My reflection seemed wrong. Not obviously so, but subtly, like it was standing just slightly off-center from where I was. I approached it cautiously, and my reflection did the same, but there was a delay, milliseconds but noticeable. "You're tired," I told myself. "Your eyes are playing tricks on you." At 2 a.m., I did my second round. This time, on the 7th floor, I saw a little girl standing at the end of the hallway. She was wearing a white nightgown, her dark hair obscuring her face. Classic horror movie stuff. I almost laughed. "Excuse me," I called out. "Are you lost?" The girl didn't move. I remembered Daniel's warning. If you see something strange, ignore it. I continued my round, deliberately not looking back at the girl. When I passed by where she had been standing, the hallway was empty. The rest of the night passed without incident, though I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The mirror kept drawing my attention, my reflection always seeming just slightly off, like it was watching me rather than reflecting me. By 8 a.m., I was exhausted but relieved. The day manager, a cheerful woman named Bethany, arrived on time, and I gratefully handed over the keys. "How was your first night?" she asked.
Fine, elite.
"Quiet. They usually are." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "See you tomorrow." I spent the day researching the Bellamy Hotel. It had opened in 1923 and had once been prestigious, hosting celebrities and politicians. But by the 1960s, it had fallen into decline. There were rumors of suicides, a murder in 1972, and a fire in 1986 that claimed 3 lives. The hotel had changed ownership multiple times, most recently purchased by a corporation called Meridian Holdings 5 years ago. Nothing to explain the strange atmosphere or Daniel's cryptic warnings. Nothing about room 341. That night, I returned for my second shift. Daniel barely acknowledged me, rushing out the moment the clock struck midnight. The routine was the same. Monitor the cameras, answer the occasional call, mostly Mr. Gaines asking for more towels, do the hourly rounds. But something had changed. The hotel felt different, more alive somehow, as if the walls themselves were breathing. During my 3 a.m. round, I noticed a strange smell on the 6th floor, like rotting meat mixed with something chemical. It seemed to be coming from room 617. I checked the registry. The room was supposed to be vacant. I contemplated investigating but remembered Daniel's warning. I marked it in the log to have housekeeping check in the morning and continued my round. Back in room 341, I found myself staring at the mirror again. This time, I was certain my reflection moved a fraction of a second after I did. And when I turned away, I could have sworn it held its position just a moment too long. I'm going crazy, I thought. This place is getting to me. The phone rang, startling me. "Front desk," I answered. Silence, then a soft, wet breathing sound. "Hello? This is the front desk." The breathing continued, growing louder, more labored. Then a voice, distorted and bubbling as if speaking through liquid. Asterisk look in the mirror star. I slammed the phone down, heart racing. I refused to look at the mirror, keeping my eyes fixed on the computer screen. The phone rang again. I ignored it. It rang 9 times before stopping. At 4 a.m., I forced myself to do the round. The hotel felt different now. The corridors seemed longer, the shadows deeper. The wallpaper in the west wing of the 3rd floor had changed. Instead of faded flowers, it now displayed intricate geometric patterns that seemed to shift and pulse. On the 5th floor, I heard sobbing coming from room 512. The registry showed it was occupied by a Ms. Eleanor Prentice, a resident for the past 3 years. I knocked gently. "Ms. Prentice? Is everything all right?" The sobbing stopped immediately. After a moment, a voice responded, high and childlike, though the registry listed Ms. Prentice as 73 years old. "Everything is wonderful. I'm having a party. Would you like to join us?" A chill ran down my spine. "Thank you, but I'm working. Let me know if you need anything." "We need you," the voice said, followed by a giggle that sounded like breaking glass. "We've been waiting so long." I hurried away, completing my round in record time. Back in room 341, the mirror seemed to dominate the space now, larger than I remembered. My reflection stared at me with an intensity that didn't match my own expression. When I raised my hand, it raised its hand a moment later. When I stepped back, it delayed its movement just enough to be noticeable. The phone rang. Asterisk look in the mirror asterisk. The wet voice gurgled before I could speak. Asterisk see who's really their star. I hung up again, my hands shaking. For the rest of the night, I kept my back to the mirror, focused on the security monitors. But I could feel it watching me. The next few nights followed a similar pattern, but the strangeness escalated. The hotel seemed to change subtly each night, corridors rearranging, room numbers shifting. Guests I'd never seen before appeared in the hallways during my rounds, standing perfectly still, watching me pass. Mr. Gaines called for towels every night at exactly 2:17 a.m. When I'd bring them to his room, He'd open the door just enough to slide a withered hand through, his fingernails yellow and curved like talons. He never spoke, never showed his face. The girl in the white nightgown appeared more frequently, always at a distance, always with her face hidden. Sometimes she'd be standing in the middle of a hallway, sometimes peering around a corner. Once, I saw her crawling across the ceiling of the 7th floor, her movements jerky and insect-like. And the mirror was changing. My reflection became less and less like me. It would smile when I frowned, scratch its cheek when I touched my forehead. Once, when I yawned, it kept its mouth closed, staring at me with unblinking eyes. On my 5th night, during the 3 a.m. round, I found all the doors on the 2nd floor wide open, each room completely empty. No furniture, no curtains, just bare walls and floors. According to the registry, 8 of those rooms were occupied. When I returned to room 341, shaken, the mirror was clouded, as if covered in condensation. As I watched, a handprint appeared on the surface from the inside, pressing outward. Then another, and another, until the entire surface of the mirror was covered in overlapping handprints of various sizes. The phone rang. Asterisk, let us out, asterisk, the wet voice pleaded. Asterisk, we're trapped, star. That was the night I decided to quit. I find another job, any job. No paycheck was worth this. But when I tried to resign the next evening, Vivian simply smiled, her mismatched eyes glinting. I'm afraid that's not possible, Ms. Collins. Your contract specifies a minimum term of 1 month. I never signed a contract, I protested. Vivian slid a document across the desk. There was my signature at the bottom, though I had no memory of signing it. I understand the night shift can be disorienting, she said, her voice softening to that strange, breathy quality. Perhaps we could discuss a bonus for your discomfort. She named a figure that made my objections die in my throat. 1 more week. I could handle 1 more week. That night was the worst yet. The hotel had abandoned any pretense of normality. The walls bled a thick, black substance that smelled of copper and earth. The elevator repeatedly opened and closed on its own, revealing glimpses of impossible spaces. A vast cavern filled with hanging corpses, an industrial kitchen where things that weren't quite human were being butchered, a child's bedroom where every surface was covered in scratched writing. During my rounds, I discovered that the layout of the hotel had changed dramatically. The corridors now formed a spiral pattern, leading inevitably to the non-existent 4th floor. Except now it did exist. Between the 3rd and 5th floors, the elevator button for 4 had appeared, illuminated and pulsing like a heartbeat. I didn't press it. In room 341, the mirror had completely transformed. The glass was now black and rippling like liquid. My reflection was gone, replaced by a darkness that seemed to have depth. Occasionally, shapes moved in that darkness, human-like but wrong, with too many limbs or not enough, their movements fluid and hungry. The phone rang continuously, but when I answered, I heard only my own voice speaking words I hadn't said. Asterisk, I'm coming. I'm almost there. Make room for me, star. By 7 a.m., I was huddled in the corner farthest from the mirror, watching as dark, oily handprints appeared on the carpet, moving from the mirror toward me. Invisible bodies crawling across the floor. When Bethany arrived at 8 a.m., she found me trembling and incoherent. The office was normal again, the mirror reflecting exactly as it should, the carpet clean and dry. You saw them, didn't you? She asked softly, helping me to my feet. It happens to everyone eventually. Why do you think the position keeps opening up? I didn't go back that night, or the next. I ignored Vivian's calls. I told myself I'd imagined everything, that stress and exhaustion had caused hallucinations. But then the dreams started. Every night, I'd find myself back in room 341, staring into the mirror. But in the dreams, I'd step through it, into the darkness beyond. There, I'd meet the others, previous night managers, guests who had disappeared, the little girl in the white nightgown whose face was not a face at all but a writhing mass of centipedes. They'd show me things, horrible, impossible things, the true nature of the hotel, the thing that lived in the walls, that fed on fear and suffering. The ritual that had created it back in 1923, when 7 children were sealed inside the foundation. In the dreams, they'd whisper secrets, promises, join us, become us. It's better here inside. No more pain, no more fear, just hunger star. I'd wake up screaming, my body covered in the same black, oily substance that had seeped from the hotel walls. After a week of this, I received a package. Inside was a room key for the Bellamy Hotel, labeled 341. There was no note, no explanation. That night, the dreams were worse. I found myself in a twisted version of my own apartment, where every reflective surface showed not my reflection but room 341. In the dream, I realized with mounting horror that I'd never actually left the hotel. That everything since, my resignation, my return home, my normal life, had been the illusion. I was still in room 341, staring into the mirror, as something on the other side stared back, wearing my face, living my life. I woke to find myself standing in front of my bathroom mirror, the room key clutched in my bleeding hand. I'd carved something into my arm while sleeping, "Come back." So here I am, back at the Bellamy Hotel. It's 3 a.m., and I'm sitting in room 341. The mirror is completely black now, a doorway rather than a reflection. The shapes on the other side are clearer, more defined. They have my face, my mother's face, my childhood pet's face, all stretched and distorted over bodies that crawl and slither. The phone hasn't stopped ringing since I arrived. I finally answered it an hour ago. "I'm here," I said. "What do you want from me?" The wet voice laughed. "We want to trade places. We've been trapped for so long. It's your turn now, Star." The mirror is rippling more violently now, the surface bulging outward as something pushes through from the other side. The handprints on the carpet are leaving wet, black trails as they circle my chair. I know I should run, but where would I go? They found me in my apartment. They'd find me anywhere. The little girl is here now, standing in the corner. She's finally shown me her face, or what's left of it. A hollow cavity filled with squirming, pale things that resemble fingers. It doesn't hurt, she promises in a voice like rustling paper. Becoming is painless. It's the resistance that causes suffering, Star. The thing in the mirror is halfway through now. A shapeless mass of glistening black that forms and reforms, trying to settle on a shape. I think it's supposed to be me, but it can't quite get the details right. I feel strangely calm. Perhaps I've always belonged here, in room 341. Perhaps we all end up where we're meant to be. The scratching behind the wall is getting louder. I think the wall is about to crack open. I should be scared, but I'm not. Instead, I find myself wondering, when I step through the mirror, and I will step through, I've accepted that now, what will the thing that takes my place do with my life? Will it do a better job than I did? Will anyone notice the difference? The black mass has fully emerged from the mirror now. It's standing before me, gradually taking shape, my shape, but wrong in subtle ways. Its skin ripples as things move beneath the surface. The smile is too wide, revealing too many teeth. Its eyes reflect nothing. Your turn, it says with my voice. I stand up. The handprints on the floor have formed a path leading to the mirror, which now shows a twisted version of my apartment. Is that where I'll live now, in that distorted reflection of reality? As I approach the mirror, the hotel around me begins to change. The walls peel away, revealing not building materials but flesh and sinew. The floor becomes soft and yielding, pulsing like a heartbeat. The ceiling recedes into darkness, where massive shapes shift and turn. This is the true Bellamy Hotel, not a building but an organism, a living entity that feeds on the fear and despair of those trapped inside it. And I'm about to become a permanent resident. I stand before the mirror, my reflection that is not me mirroring my position on the other side. We raise our hands simultaneously, pressing our palms against the glass from opposite sides. The surface gives way like a membrane, cold and slick. As my hand passes through, I feel something fundamental changing. My substance, my essence being altered. It doesn't hurt, just as the girl promised. It feels like shedding a skin I never knew was too tight. Before I step fully through, I look back one last time at room 341. The little girl waves goodbye. Mr. Gaines has appeared, his true form visible now, towering and gaunt, his body opening like a flower to reveal a circular maw lined with teeth. Vivian is there too, her symmetrical face split vertically, displaying the hollow cavity within. Asterisk, see you soon, asterisk, they chorus. Asterisk, from the other side of the glass starred. I turn back to the mirror and step through, embracing the darkness beyond. As the membrane seals behind me, I realize what we really fear isn't death or pain. It's transformation, becoming something other than ourselves. In my last moment of humanity, I wonder, will you recognize me when I visit you tonight, watching from every reflective surface in your home? Will you feel me standing behind you when you brush your teeth tomorrow morning? And when I finally step out of your mirror, wearing an approximation of a human face, will you accept your turn in room 341 as graciously as I accepted mine? Sweet dreams. Don't look too closely at your reflection. That might not be you looking back. The curator's gift. The email arrived on a Wednesday afternoon, buried between credit card offers and newsletter subscriptions I'd never remember signing up for. Subject line: congratulations on your selection for the Blackwood Collection preview. I almost deleted it without reading. Another scam, no doubt. But something about the formal language caught my eye. The message was brief, elegant, addressed specifically to me. Asterisk, we are pleased to inform you that, following careful consideration, you have been selected as a private viewer for the prestigious Blackwood Collection ahead of its museum debut. This exclusive opportunity is extended to only 5 individuals worldwide. Your background in art history and your published critique on the boundaries of modern perception has marked you as an ideal candidate. Asterisk. Asterisk, the viewing will take place at the Blackwood Estate this Saturday evening at 7 p.m. Transportation has been arranged. Please confirm your attendance by responding to this email. Asterisk. With regards, Edmund Kearney, curator. Art history was my passion, not my profession. I taught high school English to pay the bills. My published critique was just a rambling blog post that had, at most, a dozen readers. Yet someone had found it and deemed me worthy of this opportunity. I hesitated only briefly before responding with my confirmation. Professional curiosity outweighed caution. Besides, what serious collector would bother scamming a nobody like me? The car arrived exactly at 5:30 p.m. on Saturday. A sleek black sedan with tinted windows. The driver, a thin man in an impeccable suit, nodded silently as he opened the door for me. I slid into the leather interior, noting the absence of any logos or identifying marks on the vehicle. How long is the drive? I asked as we pulled away from my apartment building. Approximately 90 minutes, sir, the driver replied, his voice oddly flat. Mr. Kearney suggested you might enjoy some reading material for the journey. He gestured to a slim leather folder on the seat beside me. The folder contained a brief history of the Blackwood family and their collection. The Blackwoods had been collectors of rare and unusual art for generations, it seemed, with a particular focus on pieces that challenged conventional sensibilities. The current collection had been assembled by the late Elias Blackwood over 60 years and had never been publicly displayed. I scanned the document with growing excitement. There were no photographs of the works, just cryptic descriptions. The Hanging Garden, mixed media, artist unknown, c. 1888 and asterisk Mother's Lament, oil on canvas, Greta Weiss, 1932. Asterisk, the language was vague but tantalizing. This could be the kind of exclusive preview that launches careers in art criticism. The city gradually gave way to rolling countryside, then to dense forest. Night was falling rapidly, and the headlights cut through increasing fog as we wound up a narrow mountain road. My phone's signal had disappeared an hour ago. The Blackwood estate emerged suddenly from the mist. A sprawling Victorian mansion perched on the edge of a cliff, its many windows glowing amber against the darkening sky. Gothic revival architecture with elements of something older, something I couldn't quite place. The driver escorted me to massive double doors that opened before we reached them. A tall, thin man with silver hair and round spectacles stepped forward. "You must be our final guest," he said, extending a hand. His grip was dry and cold. "Edmund Kearney, welcome to Blackwood Estate." The entrance hall was cavernous, with a sweeping staircase and walls adorned with paintings I didn't recognize but somehow felt I should. For other people stood in a loose semicircle, each holding a crystal glass of amber liquid. "Allow me to introduce your fellow viewers," Kearney said, guiding me forward. "Dr. Eliza Chun, curator at the Metropolitan. Monsieur Pascal Dubois from the Louvre, Lord Henry Winslow, private collector, and Professor Amelia Graves, art historian." They each nodded politely, but something in their expressions made me uneasy. Their smiles didn't reach their eyes, which seemed to study me with unusual intensity. "I'm just a high school teacher," I admitted, accepting a glass from a server who had materialized beside me. "I'm not sure why I'm in such distinguished company." "Don't be modest," Kearney said. "Your insight into artistic perception is precisely what Elias Blackwood valued. He selected each of you personally." "But Blackwood died 3 months ago," I said, remembering the detail from the folder. "Yes," Kearney replied, his smile tightening slightly. "He made his selections before his passing. Now, if you'll all follow me, dinner awaits before the viewing." The dining room was dominated by a long table beneath a chandelier that cast shifting shadows across elaborate tapestries. The food was exquisite but strangely unfamiliar. Flavors I couldn't identify, textures that seemed to change as I chewed. The wine was heavy and sweet, making my head swim pleasantly. Conversation flowed, but I noticed that my fellow guests never discussed the collection directly. Whenever I attempted to steer the conversation toward it, they deftly changed the subject. Only Kearney seemed willing to engage. "The pieces you'll see tonight transcend conventional categorization," he explained as servers cleared our plates. "Elias believed that true art should transform the viewer. It should make you question your understanding of reality." "Transformation through observation," murmured Lord Winslow, swirling his wine. "A dangerous concept. Only to those unprepared," Kearney replied. "But you've all been chosen for your receptiveness." The word chosen sent a chill through me. I blamed it on the old house's drafts. After dinner, Kearney led us through a labyrinth of corridors. The house seemed impossibly large from the inside, the hallways stretching longer than the building's exterior should have allowed. We descended a spiral staircase, the temperature dropping with every step. The lighting grew dimmer, provided now by wall sconces that burned with an unnatural bluish flame. "The collection is housed in special conditions," Kearney explained. "Temperature, humidity, and light are precisely controlled. Some pieces are sensitive." We passed through a final set of doors into a large circular gallery. The room was dark except for spotlights illuminating 5 distinct display areas around the perimeter. In the center stood a covered object, tall and vaguely human-shaped beneath a black velvet cloth. "Ladies and gentlemen," Kearney announced, his voice echoing strangely, "the Blackwood collection awaits your appreciation. Please take your time. Observe first in silence. Then we'll discuss your impressions." He gestured to 5 stations positioned before the displays, each with a small desk, chair, and notebook. Elias preferred that initial responses be recorded without consultation among viewers. "Your uncontaminated perspectives are valuable." I moved to the nearest station, labeled with my name. The display before me was a painting, or at least it appeared to be a painting at first glance. As I looked closer, I realized the surface seemed to shift slightly, as if the pigments were still wet and settling. It depicted a family dinner scene, rendered in a style reminiscent of Dutch masters, but with a subtly wrong perspective. The family members' faces were turned away or obscured, except for one child who stared directly outward with eyes that seemed to follow me. "The family meal," read the small plaque. * artist unknown. C. 1764. *. As I stared, I began to notice additional details. The silverware on the table was arranged in patterns that resembled occult symbols. A door in the background stood slightly ajar, revealing a glimpse of something moving in darkness. The child's face began to seem less human the longer I looked, the proportions subtly shifting. I tore my gaze away, feeling strangely breathless, and wrote a few notes. The other viewers were absorbed in their own displays. Dr. Chun stood before what appeared to be a sculpture of intertwined bodies that seemed to be both embracing and consuming one another. Monsieur Dubois studied a series of small framed items that I couldn't make out from my position. Moving to the next station, I found myself facing what appeared to be a mirror in an ornate frame. But my reflection was wrong, delayed by several seconds, with subtle differences in expression and posture. As I watched, my reflection smiled slightly, though I was certain my own face remained frozen in growing horror. The echo glass, the plaque read, Venetian, 16th century. My reflection raised a hand to wave at me, then pressed its palm against the glass. I stumbled backward, knocking over the chair behind me. The others didn't react, still focused on their own displays. Fascinating effect, isn't it? Kearney said, suddenly beside me. The special glass creates a psychological illusion of independent movement. Your mind fills in the gaps. It's not an illusion, I insisted, pointing at the mirror where my reflection now stood with its arms crossed, watching me with cold amusement. Look at it. I see only you reflected accurately, Kearney said. Perhaps you should take a moment to compose yourself before continuing. I glanced around at the other viewers. They were still engrossed in their observations, showing no signs of distress. Was I overreacting? I took a deep breath and moved to the third station, determined to maintain my composure. The third display held what appeared to be an ancient book, open to reveal pages covered in text written in no language I recognized. The symbols seemed to crawl across the parchment, rearranging themselves as I watched. A whisper tickled the edge of my hearing, words just beyond comprehension, speaking directly into my mind. You see what the others cannot. I jerked my head up, searching for the source of the voice. You are special. You are truly chosen. Did you say something? I asked Kearney, who was watching me with a slight smile. No, he replied. Are you hearing something? He lies. They all lie. They are not what they appear to be. The voice, was it a voice or just my thoughts? Grew more insistent. I tried to focus on the book's plaque. The Unspeakable Testament. It read, author unknown. Predates known history. Predates known history? I said aloud. That's impossible. Elias had a flair for dramatic descriptions, Kearney said smoothly. The carbon dating places it merely at 3000 BCE. I moved on quickly, the whispers following me. The fourth display contained what appeared to be a large jar or urn, filled with a dark liquid through which shadowy forms moved and pressed against the glass. I couldn't discern if they were fish, insects, or something else entirely. They seemed to notice my presence, gathering at the side of the container closest to me. The collector's aquarium, the plaque stated simply, ongoing, 1897 present. As I watched, one of the shapes pressed what looked like a small hand against the glass. 5 tiny fingers splayed outward. Then another appeared beside it. And another. Help us, the voice whispered. We were viewers too once. I backed away, bumping into Lord Winslow, who was moving to his next station. Careful there, he said, steadying me with a hand on my shoulder. His grip was painfully tight, his fingers digging into my flesh more deeply than seemed possible. The first viewing can be overwhelming. I need some air, I gasped, pulling away from him. Winslow's face seemed to shift momentarily, features sliding slightly out of position before settling back. No one leaves before completing the viewing, he said, his voice suddenly hollow, as if coming from somewhere far away. It's considered disrespectful. I looked around desperately for an exit, but the doors we had entered through were gone, the walls of the circular gallery now seamless. The other viewers had all completed their rounds and now stood in a loose circle around the central covered object. Their expressions were blank, their eyes reflecting the blue light unnaturally. Please join us for the final piece, Kearney called to me. the centerpiece of the collection. The voice in my head was screaming now. Asterisk run. Find a way out. They're not human. Asterisk. But where could I run? I approached the circle, keeping distance between myself and the others. Kearney stood by the veiled object, hands clasped before him. The Blackwood collection has a purpose beyond mere aesthetic appreciation, he announced. It serves as a filter, a means of identifying those with the rare ability to see beyond the veil of conventional reality. He reached for the black cloth. You all saw different things in the displays depending on your level of sensitivity. But only one of you saw the truth. His eyes fixed on me. Only one of you is truly worthy to join the Blackwood legacy. He pulled away the cloth, revealing not an artwork but a tall mirror similar to the one I'd seen earlier. In it, I saw myself reflected, but behind me the others were not reflected as humans. Dr. Chun was a withered corpse animated by writhing shadows. Monsieur Dubois appeared as a bloated, insectoid creature balancing on spindly legs. Professor Graves was a hollow shell with something serpentine moving within. Lord Winslow was simply a void in human shape, a cutout in reality through which something ancient and terrible watched. And Kearney was tall and thin, but his limbs were too numerous, his face a shifting collection of features that never settled into anything recognizable. "You see us as we are," Kearney said, his voice now a discordant chorus. The others did not. They saw only what they expected to see. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. My body wouldn't respond to my commands to run. "The Blackwoods have always had a gift for finding those who can see," he continued, circling behind me. "Every generation we add to our collection. The truly receptive become part of the family. The others become art." He gestured to the displays I had viewed. Each piece contains the essence of a previous viewer, their perceptions, their insights, preserved for eternity. "What are you?" I managed to whisper. "We are curators," Kearney said simply. "We preserve what humanity would otherwise lose, the capacity for true sight. For centuries, we've selected and tested those with potential. The email, the blog post, merely bait," he said. "Your online presence revealed a mind open to possibilities beyond the mundane. Your writings suggested receptiveness to realities beyond the accepted." The others moved closer, their human disguises falling away in the mirror's reflection. I could feel their hunger, their anticipation. "You have a choice," Kearney said. "Join us willingly, become part of the Blackwood lineage, or join our collection. Either way, your gift for seeing will be preserved." "Don't listen," the voice in my head screamed. "That's what they told all of us." I realized then that the voice wasn't my imagination. It was the collective warning of previous viewers, somehow reaching out from their artistic prisons. "What's happening to the others?" I asked, nodding toward my fellow viewers, who stood motionless, eyes vacant. "They failed the test," Kearney said dismissively. "They saw only art. They will be returned to their lives with pleasant memories of an exclusive viewing. Nothing more. Their mundane perceptions make them useless to us." He approached me, extending a hand that seemed to elongate impossibly. "But you have the gift. You can join us, become family. Learn to create art that captures souls, that transforms reality itself." For a moment I was tempted. The offer of knowledge, of seeing beyond what others could see, pulled at me. But the desperate voices of those trapped in the collection grew louder. Asterisk, "Don't believe him. The family is the collection." Asterisk. I looked again at the mirror, at the monstrous reflections surrounding me. Something caught my eye, a pattern in the mirror's frame that matched the symbols I'd seen in the ancient book. Understanding flashed through me. The mirror wasn't just showing truth. It was a doorway, a boundary between realities. "I decline your offer," I said firmly, an idea forming. "I prefer to remain as I am." Kearney's face hardened, his disguise slipping further. "That is not actually an option. If you will not join willingly, you will join the collection." He reached for me with too many limbs, but I was already moving. I lunged not away from the mirror but toward it, throwing my full weight against the glass. The surface rippled like water as I hit it, and then I was falling, tumbling through icy darkness. Behind me, I heard Kearney's scream of rage, felt grasping limbs trying to pull me back. But the voices that had been in my head were now all around me, pulling me forward, guiding me. Asterisk this way, quickly. The boundary is weakening. Asterisk. I fell for what seemed like hours through a space filled with whispers and faint lights. Then, suddenly, I was lying on cold tile, gasping for breath. I was in a dimly lit room, a public restroom in what appeared to be a museum. My clothes were soaked with sweat, but otherwise I was unharmed. Shakily, I got to my feet and stumbled out into a gallery. Display cases held ancient artifacts, and placards described their historical significance in mundane terms. Normal visitors moved among the exhibits, oblivious to what lay behind them, to the realities that existed in the spaces between perception and truth. I approached a security guard. "Excuse me, what museum is this?" He looked at me strangely. "The Metropolitan Museum of Art, sir." "Are you feeling unwell?" "New York." I had escaped to New York, somehow, through the mirror that served as both window and door between realities. "I'm fine," I assured him. "Just got a bit disoriented." As I turned to leave, I noticed a small display in an easily overlooked corner. Inside was a familiar book, its pages open to symbols that seemed to shift slightly when not viewed directly. The plaque read, * unidentified manuscript, donor, Blackwood Estate, 2023, *. A cold realization washed over me. The Blackwoods hadn't let me escape. They had simply changed the nature of my imprisonment. I wasn't free. I was now an emissary, a beacon to draw others with the gift of sight. Even now, I can feel them watching through the artwork that surrounds us daily. Mundane paintings and sculptures to most, but windows and doors to those who can see. The Blackwoods are everywhere, collecting, preserving, transforming. That blog post you enjoyed? That insightful comment you left about artistic perception? That's how they found me. And now, through these words, they found you too. Because you see what others cannot. You understand what lies beneath the surface. You've felt that strange resonance when looking at certain images, that whisper of something more. You are precisely what they're looking for, and they've already sent the email. Check your inbox. The invitation is waiting. Beneath the surface. I'm sure you've never thought twice about your bathroom mirror. Nobody does. It's just there, reflecting your tired face as you brush your teeth or wash away the day. I didn't think twice about mine either, until it blinked. Let me back up. My name is Alex Mercer, and 3 weeks ago I moved into Unit 7B at Blackwood Apartments. The building is nothing special. A 6-story brick structure built in the 1960s with all the charm of a Soviet-era prison. But the rent was reasonable, the location convenient, and after my divorce from Elena, I needed something fast that wouldn't drain what little savings I had left. The apartment itself is small but functional. Living room, kitchenette, bedroom, and a cramped bathroom with the aforementioned mirror. The mirror spans the entire wall above the sink, an oversized rectangle with a thin metal frame that's tarnished at the corners. From the moment I moved in, something about that mirror felt off. Not in any way I could articulate, just a subtle wrongness that prickled at the back of my neck whenever I stood before it. I chalked it up to unfamiliarity. New place, new mirror, new reflections to get used to. The human brain is sensitive to changes in our everyday environment. There's probably some evolutionary advantage to noticing when something isn't quite right. That's what I told myself, at least. On my third night in the apartment, I woke at 3:17 a.m. with a parched throat. I stumbled to the bathroom in darkness, guided only by the ambient glow of streetlights filtering through my blinds. I flipped the switch, wincing at the sudden fluorescent glare, and turned on the faucet. As I bent to drink from the tap, I caught sight of myself in the mirror. Disheveled hair, stubbled chin, dark circles under bloodshot eyes. Nothing unusual for a man who hasn't been sleeping well since his wife left him for his best friend. I straightened up, wiping water from my mouth with the back of my hand. That's when I saw it. A flicker. A momentary disruption in the reflected image, like a video skipping a frame. My reflection blinked, but I hadn't. For a long moment, I stood frozen, water dripping from my chin, staring at my reflection that now perfectly mimicked my wide-eyed shock. Had I imagined it? Was I still half asleep? My brain playing tricks? I raised my right hand. My reflection did the same. I touched my face. So did my reflection. Everything was normal. You need sleep, I muttered to myself, and flicked off the light. But sleep wouldn't come. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, unable to shake the unsettling feeling. It was like when you think you see movement in your peripheral vision, only to turn and find nothing there. A ghost of perception, a neurological misfire. Nothing more. The next day passed uneventfully. I went to my new job at the city planning office, pushing papers and updating zoning maps, mind-numbing work that I was grateful for after months of unemployment, then picked up Chinese takeout on the way home. I watched 2 episodes of some forgettable crime drama, scrolled mindlessly through social media, and crawled into bed by 11. The bathroom mirror didn't cross my mind again until I was brushing my teeth before bed. Standing there, foamy toothpaste dribbling down my chin, I couldn't help but study my reflection more carefully than usual. The same sandy hair with premature gray at the temples. The same hazel eyes, slightly asymmetrical. The same narrow face with a chin Elena always said was too weak. Everything was as it should be. I spat, rinsed, and went to bed feeling foolish for letting my imagination run wild. That night, I dreamed of the mirror. In the dream, I stood before it, but my reflection wore an expression of utter disdain that I wasn't feeling. I reached out to touch the glass, and my reflection did the same, but its movements were just slightly out of sync with mine, as if there was a delay between my actions and its response. Then it smiled. A terrible, knowing smile that stretched far wider than any human mouth should be capable of. Its teeth were oddly shaped, too numerous, too sharp, and its eyes, my eyes in the reflection, began to bleed thick, black liquid that oozed down its face. "Let me in," it whispered, though its lips barely moved. I jolted awake with a gasp, heart hammering against my ribs. The digital clock on my nightstand read 3:17 a.m. The coincidence didn't escape me. Sweat-soaked and trembling, I knew I wouldn't be able to fall back asleep without checking the bathroom, just to reassure myself, just to prove that it was only a dream. I swung my legs over the side of the bed and padded to the bathroom door, which stood slightly ajar. Normally, I leave it open, but I couldn't remember if I'd closed it before going to bed. Had someone or something opened it? Don't be ridiculous, I chided myself. Asterisk, it's an old building. The door probably drifted open on its own. Asterisk. Still, my hand shook as I pushed the door fully open. The bathroom was dark, the mirror a rectangular void in the gloom. My finger found the light switch. Nothing happened. I flicked it up and down several times. Still nothing. The bulb must have burned out. A chill skittered up my spine as I stood in the doorway, staring at the shadowy outline of the mirror. The smart thing would have been to close the door and wait until morning. Instead, I found myself stepping forward, drawn by a compulsion I couldn't explain. Moonlight seeped through the small, frosted bathroom window, casting everything in a spectral blue glow. Just enough light to see the vague shape of my reflection. I moved closer, squinting to make out details. That's when I heard it. A whisper so faint I thought at first it was just the sound of my own breathing. Asterisk. I've been waiting for you, Alex. Asterisk. The voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. It was both inside my head and emanating from the mirror itself. A voice that was almost my own, but distorted, like someone doing a poor imitation. My reflection moved, though I stood still. It raised its hand and pressed its palm against the glass. "Let me in," it whispered. Asterisk. It's so cold on this side. Asterisk. I backed away, stumbling over the bathroom rug, my heart a jackhammer in my chest. This couldn't be real. I was dreaming, still dreaming. Or maybe I was having some kind of breakdown. The stress of the divorce, the move, the new job, it was all catching up to me. I slammed the bathroom door shut and retreated to my bedroom, where I spent the remainder of the night with all the lights on, jumping at every creak and groan of the old building settling. Morning came eventually, as it always does. In the harsh light of day, my midnight encounter seemed absurd. I'd had a nightmare, followed by a hypnagogic hallucination, those vivid waking dreams that can occur when transitioning between sleep and wakefulness. That was all. Nothing supernatural, nothing sinister. Just an overactive imagination and poor sleep hygiene. When I finally worked up the courage to check the bathroom, I found the light working perfectly. The bulb hadn't been burned out after all. The switch must have been faulty. The mirror reflected exactly what it should, me, looking like hell after a sleepless night, but otherwise normal. I splashed cold water on my face and decided to put the whole bizarre episode behind me. That resolution lasted exactly until 6:42 that evening, when I received a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Don't look in the mirror tonight." My blood turned to ice. I stared at the message, thumbs hovering over the keyboard, unsure how to respond. Finally, I typed, "Who is this?" The reply came seconds later. Asterisk a friend. "The mirror isn't what you think. Don't look into it after dark. It's when they can see you." Asterisk. Asterisk they. Who's they? Asterisk I texted back, but there was no response. I tried calling the number, but it went straight to voicemail, a generic automated message with no personal greeting. I tried to convince myself it was a wrong number or some elaborate prank. But the timing was too perfect, the warning too specific. Someone knew about my experience with the mirror. But how? I hadn't told anyone. I hadn't even written about it online. Unless they'd experienced it too. The thought sent a shiver through me. What if the previous tenant of apartment 7B had encountered something similar? What if that's why the unit had been available on such short notice, at such a reasonable price? I spent the next hour searching online for any information about Blackwood Apartments, looking for stories of strange occurrences, unexplained phenomena, or previous tenants who'd left abruptly. I found nothing out of the ordinary, just typical apartment reviews complaining about noisy neighbors and slow maintenance responses. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across my living room, I made a decision. I would cover the mirror for the night, just to be safe, just until I could figure out what was happening. I found a bed sheet in my still unpacked moving boxes and headed to the bathroom, determined to face my fears in the waning daylight. But as I stood before the mirror, sheet in hand, something caught my eye. A smudge on the glass, about 5 feet up, right where my reflection's hand would be if it were pressing against the other side. A handprint. I hadn't touched the mirror since moving in. I'm not tall enough to reach that spot without standing on something, and I hadn't cleaned it yet. The print shouldn't have been there, couldn't have been there, yet it was a perfect outline of a hand, slightly larger than my own, pressed against the inside of the glass, as if someone on the other side was trying to push their way through. My mouth went dry. Rational explanations evaporated. This was physical evidence that something was wrong with the mirror, that my experience hadn't been just a nightmare or hallucination. With trembling hands, I threw the sheet over the mirror, tucking the edges behind it to secure it in place. Then I backed out of the bathroom, closed the door, and for good measure, wedged a chair under the doorknob. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I sat in my living room with all the lights on, jumping at every sound, my eyes constantly darting to the bathroom door. Around midnight, I thought I heard whispering coming from behind it, a continuous, sibilant murmur too faint to make out words. I turned up the volume on the TV to drown it out. By morning, I was a wreck, exhausted, strung out, and questioning my sanity. But I had to go to work. I couldn't afford to lose this job, so I splashed water on my face in the kitchen sink, refusing to enter the bathroom, changed into wrinkled clothes and headed out. The day passed in a fog. I made careless mistakes, snapped at colleagues, and nearly fell asleep during an important meeting. My supervisor, Janine, pulled me aside afterward. "Everything okay, Alex? You seem off." I almost told her then, about the mirror, the reflection that moved independently, the text warning me not to look at it, the handprint. But I stopped myself. How could I explain something I barely understood myself? She'd think I was having a mental breakdown. Maybe I was.
I'm fine, Elite.
Just haven't been sleeping well in the new place. Still adjusting. She nodded sympathetically. Moving is always stressful. Take care of yourself, okay? We need you sharp. I promised I would and returned to my desk, where I spent the rest of the afternoon researching mirror folklore and superstitions instead of doing actual work. I learned about catoptromancy, divination using mirrors, about the ancient belief that mirrors can trap souls, about mirror ghosts and mirror demons that can supposedly use reflective surfaces as portals between worlds. It was all superstitious nonsense, of course, but with each article I read, each forum thread about unexplained mirror phenomena, the cold knot of dread in my stomach grew tighter. By the time I left work, I had made up my mind. I would remove the mirror from my bathroom wall. If I couldn't do it alone, I'd hire someone. Whatever it took, that mirror was coming down. I stopped at a hardware store on the way home and bought a pry bar, work gloves, and heavy-duty garbage bags. The clerk raised an eyebrow at my selections but said nothing. Night had fallen by the time I arrived back at Blackwood Apartments. The building seemed more ominous than usual, its windows like vacant eyes staring out into the darkness. I hurried inside, nodding curtly to Mrs. Patel from 5A as we passed in the lobby. "You look terrible," she remarked with the bluntness of the elderly. "Are you ill?" "Just tired," I replied, already moving toward the stairs. I didn't want to wait for the notoriously slow elevator. "It's the building," she called after me. "It affects some people that way, especially in the units with the original fixtures." I froze, 1 foot on the first step. "What do you mean?" She shuffled closer, lowering her voice conspiratorially. "The mirrors, from the original construction. Most have been replaced over the years, but a few remain. Bad energy. My cousin's boy lived in 7B before you. Only lasted 3 weeks before moving out." My mouth went dry. Did he say why? Mrs. Patel shrugged her thin shoulders. Said he couldn't sleep. Kept hearing voices. Seeing things. We thought maybe drugs, you know? But he was a good boy. Religious. Never touched that stuff. What happened to him? I managed to ask, though I wasn't sure I wanted to hear the answer. "He's in a facility now." She made a circular motion near her temple. "His mother says he'll be out soon, but..." She shook her head sadly. "He keeps talking about his reflection trying to take his place. Crazy talk." I thanked her with numb lips and continued up the stairs, my legs feeling like lead with each step. By the time I reached the 7th floor, I was drenched in cold sweat that had nothing to do with the climb. I unlocked my door with shaking hands and stepped inside, immediately sensing that something was wrong. The air felt thick, charged, like the oppressive atmosphere before a thunderstorm. And there was a smell, subtle but unmistakable, like wet soil and something metallic. Blood, perhaps, or copper. The bathroom door stood open. I was certain I'd left it closed, blocked with a chair. The chair now lay on its side several feet away, as if thrown. And the sheet I'd used to cover the mirror hung in tatters, shredded by what looked like claw marks. "Get out!" A voice in my head screamed. "Get out now and don't come back." But where would I go? I had no family nearby, no close friends in this city, and barely enough money to make it to my next paycheck. Besides, a small, stubborn part of me refused to be driven from my home by what might still be nothing more than an elaborate hoax or my own deteriorating mental state. I set down my shopping bag and cautiously approached the bathroom, pry bar in hand. The fluorescent light flickered erratically, casting strobing shadows that made it difficult to focus. The mirror reflected the empty doorway, then me as I stepped into view. My reflection looked wrong. Sickly pale, with dark circles under its eyes and a slack expression. It matched my movements as I raised the pry bar, but its eyes seemed to hold an awareness, an intelligence that was observing me rather than mimicking me. "Who are you?" I whispered. My reflection's lips curled into a smile I wasn't making. "I am you," it whispered back. its voice emanating from the mirror itself. A dry rustling like dead leaves skittering across pavement. Asterisk, the better you. The you that should have been. Asterisk. I stumbled backward, nearly dropping the pry bar. This couldn't be happening. Mirrors don't talk. Reflections don't move independently. This was a hallucination, a psychotic break, something, anything other than reality. Let me in, Alex, it continued, pressing its palms against the glass, which seemed to bulge outward slightly, as if the boundary between our worlds was thin and flexible. Asterisk, I can fix everything. Get Elena back. Make your life matter again. Asterisk, stay back, I warned, brandishing the pry bar. Whatever you are, stay away from me. It laughed, a horrible, grating sound. Asterisk, you can't keep me out forever. I've been patient, watching you through every reflective surface, learning you, becoming you, better than you. Asterisk, to my horror, I saw movement behind my reflection. Shadowy figures taking shape in the reflected bathroom that didn't exist in mine. Tall, spindly shapes with too many limbs. Bulbous, glistening forms that pulsated with unnatural life. And faces, dozens of faces pressing against the glass from the other side, their features distorted in silent screams. We're all waiting for you, Alex, my reflection said, its smile widening impossibly until it split its face nearly in half, revealing row upon row of needle-like teeth. Asterisk, your neighbors from 7B, the previous tenants. All of us trapped here when we looked too long, asked too many questions. Asterisk, its hand began to push through the glass, which rippled like water around its emerging fingers. The air in the bathroom grew colder, my breath fogging in front of me. I didn't think. I reacted. I swung the pry bar with all my strength at the mirror. The glass shattered with a sound like 1,000 screaming voices. Shards exploded outward, slicing my face and hands, embedding in the walls and floor. A freezing wind rushed from the broken mirror, carrying with it the stench of decay and something else. Something ancient and wrong that had no place in our world. For a moment, I thought I saw things crawling through the jagged opening where the mirror had been. Twisted, chitinous forms scuttling from darkness into light. Then the bathroom light exploded in a shower of sparks, plunging the room into darkness. I ran. Out of the bathroom, out of the apartment, out of the building. I didn't stop until I reached the all-night diner 3 blocks away, where I collapsed into a booth, bleeding and wild-eyed. The waitress called an ambulance. I spent the next 2 days in the hospital, first in the ER having glass shards removed from my skin, then in the psychiatric ward after I couldn't stop raving about what had come through the mirror. They diagnosed me with acute stress disorder and possible schizophrenia, prescribed antipsychotics and recommended extended inpatient treatment. I nodded and agreed with everything they said, playing the role of the cooperative patient who accepts his diagnosis. They released me yesterday with a month's supply of pills and a referral to a therapist. I threw the pills away and used my last bit of savings to check into this motel, where I'm writing this now. Because here's the thing they don't understand. I know what I saw. I know what came through. My reflection. The thing wearing my face. It's out there now. Last night, I caught a glimpse of myself on the black screen of my phone. For just an instant, my reflection smiled at me. That same impossible smile, before the screen shattered in my hand, though I hadn't dropped or squeezed it. This morning, I received another text from that same unknown number. Asterisk, too late. It's free now, and it's wearing your skin. Asterisk, I've covered every reflective surface in this motel room, the bathroom mirror, the TV screen, even the small mirror on the inside of the closet door. I've duct-taped garbage bags over them all. But it doesn't matter. I can feel it getting closer. Sometimes, when I close my eyes, I can see through its eyes. My eyes, as it visits my workplace, talks to my colleagues, lives my life. It's learning to be me. Perfect its impersonation. No one notices the slightly off mannerisms, the too wide smile, the eyes that never quite focus on what they should. And sometimes, in the moments between wakefulness and sleep, I hear the voices of the others trapped on the other side of the mirror. They whisper that soon I'll join them, that the thing that took my place will eventually find me, drag me back through any reflective surface, and imprison me in that lightless realm where they've all been waiting. They tell me there's a whole world behind every mirror, a dark reflection of our own, populated by things that hunger to cross over, things that have been watching us, studying us, waiting for their chance. And now, thanks to me, one of them is free. I'm writing this as a warning. Check your mirrors. If your reflection blinks when you don't, if it smiles when you're not smiling, if it seems to be watching you rather than mimicking you, cover the mirror. Break it. Run. And whatever you do, don't look for too long into any reflective surface. Not your bathroom mirror, not a window at night, not even the black screen of your phone when it's turned off. Because they're watching from the other side, and they're waiting to let themselves in. Wait, someone's knocking at my door. I can see a distorted shape through the peephole, a figure that looks like me, but isn't quite right. Its proportions are wrong, its movements jerky and unnatural. It's calling my name in my own voice, saying it just wants to talk, saying it can help me understand. I don't know how it found me, but I know I can't let it in. I've pushed the dresser in front of the door, but it's still knocking, still calling. The knocking is getting louder, more insistent. The door is beginning to splinter, and now I notice something I missed before. The bathroom door is ajar, and in the sliver of visible space, I can see that the garbage bag I taped over the mirror has fallen. From where I sit, I can just make out my reflection in the exposed portion of glass. Except it isn't reflecting the motel room. It's showing the inside of my apartment at Blackwood, apartment 7B, and standing in the reflected bathroom is not my doppelganger, but Mrs. Patel from 5A, smiling that too-wide smile that splits her face nearly in half. She raises her hand in greeting, her fingers elongating into glossy black talons. "We've been neighbors for so long, Alex," she says, though her lips barely move. Asterisk, "Won't you invite me in?" Asterisk, the motel door splinters. Something that looks like me but isn't squeezes through the gap, its body distorting in ways no human body should be able to. And behind me, I hear movement from the bathroom mirror, the wet sound of something large pulling itself through a too small opening. They're coming from both sides now. I have nowhere left to run. If you're reading this, it's already too late for me. But maybe not for you. Cover your mirrors. All of them. Now, before your reflection notices you watching. The watcher in the mirror. The first time I saw someone else's face in my mirror, I thought it was a trick of the light. I was exhausted that night, having just moved into my grandmother's old Victorian house after her passing. The inheritance had been unexpected, we weren't close, and I'd only visited a handful of times as a child. But with my recent divorce and mounting debt, the free house was a godsend. That first night, I stood in the upstairs bathroom, splashing cold water on my face. When I looked up, just for a moment, I saw a different face watching me, pale, gaunt, with deep-set eyes. It lasted only a fraction of a second before my own reflection returned. Just exhaustion, I told myself. Asterisk, the stress of moving, the grief, the divorce. That's all. Asterisk. But now, 3 weeks later, I know better. The house has good bones, everyone said so. 3 stories of aging Victorian charm nestled in a quiet neighborhood where the houses sit far apart, separated by old trees and well-kept gardens. My grandmother's house had been meticulously maintained, though the decor was decades out of date. Heavy drapes, ornate wallpaper, antique furniture that smelled of lemon polish and age. The mirrors, though, the mirrors were the most striking feature. They hung in every room. Ornate gilt-framed mirrors, simple wooden ones, full-length mirrors in the bedrooms, small decorative ones in the hallways. Some looked ancient, the glass mottled and cloudy at the edges. Others were pristine, reflecting perfectly. Your grandmother collected them, the estate lawyer had explained when handing over the keys. Quite the hobby she had. I never thought much about it until the faces started appearing more frequently. They come at night, mostly. The witching hour, that space between 3 and 4 a.m. when I wake suddenly, heart pounding, some unknown terror pulling me from sleep. I'll pad down the hallway, drawn to the large oval mirror at the end of the corridor. In the dim light, my reflection looks wrong. Too tall, too thin, standing too still. I'll blink, and for a moment, I see someone else entirely. A woman with long, dark hair and eyes like wells. A man with a crooked smile and skin that seems to ripple. A child with no features at all, just smooth skin where a face should be. Hallucinations, I told myself at first. Pareidolia. My brain creating patterns where none exist. But then they started whispering. Let us in. The voice came 3 nights ago, as I stood frozen before the bathroom mirror. It was 3:33 a.m. I know because I checked my phone right after, hands shaking so badly I nearly dropped it. Asterisk, let us in. We're so cold out here. Asterisk. The voice was thin, reedy, like wind through dead leaves. The reflection in the mirror wasn't mine. It was an old woman, her face deeply lined, eyes cloudy with cataracts. She looked familiar in a way I couldn't place. Who are you? I whispered, my breath fogging the glass slightly. The old woman smiled, revealing teeth too numerous, too sharp. Asterisk, you know who we are. You invited us. Asterisk. I ran back to my bedroom, locked the door, and didn't sleep for the rest of the night. In the morning light, I convinced myself it had been a nightmare. Just my subconscious processing grief over my grandmother, creating phantoms from memories. But I started covering the mirrors anyway. Sheets, towels, anything I could find. I told myself it was temporary, until I could get some sleep, get my head straight. The only problem was, the coverings never stayed in place. You don't look well, my sister said over video chat. Are you sleeping? Not great, I admitted. The house makes noises. Old pipes, settling foundation. I didn't tell her about the mirrors. Didn't tell her how, every morning, I'd find the coverings removed, neatly folded on the floor beneath each mirror. Didn't tell her that sometimes, walking past a mirror, I'd catch a glimpse of someone standing behind me, only to turn and find myself alone. Maybe you should get a roommate, she suggested. That place is too big for one person anyway. Maybe, I agreed, though the thought of bringing someone else into this house filled me with dread. How are the kids? She launched into a story about my niece's soccer game, and I let her voice wash over me, trying to focus on normal, everyday things instead of the tall mirror in the corner of my office, currently covered with a sheet that I knew would be on the floor by morning. As she talked, I noticed something odd in my video chat window. A shadow moving behind me, though I sat with my back to a wall. I turned quickly, saw nothing, then looked back at the screen. For a moment, just a moment, my sister's face wasn't her own. It was waxy, stretched too wide, eyes too dark. Are you even listening? She asked, and her face was normal again. Sorry, I mumbled. Just tired. After we hung up, I sat very still, listening to the house. It was quiet except for the occasional creak or groan of old wood. But beneath that, I could swear I heard whispers, too faint to make out words. I found the journal yesterday, while cleaning out the attic in a desperate attempt to distract myself. It was my grandmother's, hidden in a box of old photos and letters. The entries dated back to the 1970s, continuing right up until a week before her death. The first entries were mundane garden club meetings, bridge games, recipes she wanted to try. But as I flipped through the pages, the tone changed. She began writing about the mirrors, about finding them at estate sales and antique shops across the country. Asterisk found another one today, in that little shop in Bedford. The owner was eager to part with it. Said it had been returned 3 times by customers who claimed to see things in it. Perfect for my collection. Asterisk. I read late into the night, her neat handwriting becoming more erratic as the years passed. Asterisk, they speak to me now. Not just whispers, but full conversations. They know things they shouldn't know. They told me about Robert's affair before anyone else knew. They told me about the cancer 6 months before the doctors found it. Asterisk. Asterisk, they want something from me. I don't know what. Asterisk. The final entries were frantic, pages filled with drawings of eyes and mouths. Strange symbols I didn't recognize. Asterisk, they're getting stronger. I see them even when I'm not looking in the mirrors now. They stand in corners, behind doors. They watch me sleep. I hear them talking among themselves, planning something. Asterisk. Asterisk, I should destroy the mirrors. I know I should, but I can't. They won't let me. Asterisk. The final entry, dated just days before her death, chilled me to the bone. Asterisk, I've done what they asked. God forgive me. I've invited them in. Asterisk. I tried to leave this morning, packed a bag, called a hotel, even made it as far as the front door. But when I turned the handle, searing pain shot through my palm. I looked down to find my skin blistering, as if the metal had been heated to an impossible temperature. The pain vanished the moment I released the door. I tried the back door, the windows, even the cellar entrance. Each attempt ended the same way. Burning pain, invisible barriers, a sense of something watching, amused by my efforts. I'm trapped in this house, with its dozen mirrors and whatever waits inside them. You invited us, they whisper, but I didn't. I never did. Unless the invitation wasn't mine to give. Unless my grandmother did something, performed some ritual that bound these entities to her bloodline, to her house, to me. Night has fallen again. I sit in the dining room, the long table that could seat 12 now cluttered with my grandmother's journal, printouts of research on mirrors and folklore, and several bottles of whiskey I found in the cellar. I've been drinking steadily, trying to dull the constant whispers that seem to emanate from the walls themselves. The large gilt mirror across from me is uncovered. I've given up trying to hide them, given up pretending this is all in my head. As I watch, my reflection changes. My face remains my own, but behind me, the dining room transforms. The wallpaper peels away, revealing pulsating flesh beneath. The ceiling stretches upward into darkness, and figures begin to emerge from the corners of the room. Tall, thin figures with too many limbs, moving in a jerky, unsettling way that makes my stomach churn. What do you want? I ask aloud, voice slurred from whiskey and fear. My reflection smiles, though I'm certain my own face remains frozen in terror. We want what was promised. It replies, my own voice distorted, deeper, a way in. I don't understand, I whisper. Mirrors are doorways, my reflection explains, as the creatures behind it move closer. Asterisk, thin places between worlds. Your grandmother found us, collected us, fed us, and in return she promised us passage. Asterisk, passage to what? Asterisk, your world, your reality, your flesh. Asterisk, my reflection's eyes darken, becoming black pools. Its smile widens until it splits its face in half, revealing rows of needle-like teeth. Asterisk, she bound us to this house, to her blood. She fed us small animals at first, then larger ones. Neighbors' pets that went missing. She brought us visitors too, salesmen, delivery people, friends who suddenly stopped calling. She was very clever about it. Asterisk, I think of the local rumors about my reclusive grandmother, how people in town would fall silent when I mentioned her name after inheriting the house. Asterisk, but it wasn't enough. We needed a willing host, someone to invite us in freely. She wouldn't do it, not for years. But in the end, when the cancer was eating her alive, she made a bargain. Asterisk. The whispers grow louder, surrounding me, pressing against my eardrums until I fear they might burst. She gave us you. I've barricaded myself in the master bedroom now. The door is locked, a heavy dresser pushed against it, though I doubt it will keep them out for long. There are no mirrors in here. I smash the vanity mirror with a paperweight, but I can feel them watching through the windows, through the glossy screen of my phone, through any reflective surface. My head pounds with their whispers, a cacophony of voices begging, demanding, cajoling. Asterisk, let us in. Let us wear your skin. Let us taste your world. Asterisk. I found more of my grandmother's journals hidden in the bedroom. Older ones, detailing exactly what she did. The rituals, the sacrifices, the dark bargain she made when doctors gave her 6 months to live. She'd bound them to the mirrors, to the house, to her bloodline. but she'd promised them a willing host eventually. Someone who would invite them in freely, allowing them to fully cross over. She'd gotten 15 more years of life in exchange. 15 years while the cancer mysteriously went into remission. 15 years while these things waited, growing stronger, more numerous. And now they want me to fulfill her promise. Let us in, they whisper. Asterisk, or we'll take what we want anyway. But it will hurt more. So much more. Asterisk. To demonstrate, pain rips through me. My bones feel like they're splintering, my skin crawling with invisible insects. I scream, falling to my knees. The pain stops as suddenly as it began. Choose, they whisper. Choose now. I found a way out, or at least I thought I did. In my grandmother's final journal, she'd written about a ritual to banish them. It required specific ingredients, salt, iron filings, graveyard dirt, blood freely given, and had to be performed at exactly 3:33 a.m., the time when the barrier between worlds is thinnest. I gathered everything I could find, improvising where necessary. I drew the symbols on the floor of the master bedroom with shaking hands, placed candles at the cardinal points, and waited for the witching hour. At 3:30, the whispers stopped completely. The silence was somehow worse. At 3:32, the temperature in the room plummeted. My breath fogged in front of me. The candles flickered but didn't go out. At 3:33 exactly, I began the ritual, reading the Latin words from my grandmother's journal, my voice stumbling over the unfamiliar syllables. As I spoke the final words, slicing my palm and letting the blood drip onto the central symbol, every mirror in the house shattered simultaneously. I could hear the explosive tinkling from all 3 floors. For a moment, I felt relief wash over me. I'd broken the connection. I'd sent them back. But then I realized my mistake. The ritual wasn't for banishing them. It was for inviting them in. My grandmother's final deception. Her last manipulation from beyond the grave. I understood then. The mirrors weren't windows for them to look through. They were prison walls, barriers keeping them contained. And I had just shattered every single one. The first one emerges from the hallway mirror, stepping through the rain of broken glass like it's walking through a beaded curtain. It looks almost human. A tall, slender woman with impossibly long limbs and a face that shifts subtly, never quite settling into one configuration. Behind her, more figures emerge, some humanoid, others defying description entirely. They move with a fluid grace that seems wrong, like watching insects crawl underwater. Some skitter across the ceiling. Others ooze along the walls, leaving glistening trails behind them. I try to scream, but my voice fails me. My body won't respond to my commands. I can only watch, paralyzed, as they approach. Thank you for the invitation, whispers the first one, its voice somehow inside my head. We've waited so long. I feel something cold and wet touch my cheek, a sensation like slugs crawling across my skin. Another creature, this one a mass of writhing tentacles with eyes embedded in the flesh, wraps itself around my legs, slithering upward. Your grandmother was clever, the voice continues. Asterisk, she bound us to the mirrors, kept us contained, fed us just enough to stay strong. But she promised us more. She promised us you. Asterisk, why me? I finally managed to choke out. Asterisk, because you're special. Because you can see us. Because your mind is thin, the barrier between your consciousness and the void is weak. You're a perfect vessel. Asterisk. The room fills with them now, creatures that should not exist crowding the space. Some look almost human, wearing the faces of people I've known. My ex-wife, my sister, my dead father. Others are monstrous amalgamations of flesh and shadow and too many limbs. We'll wear your skin now, they whisper. Asterisk, will walk in your world. We'll feed. We'll grow. And no one will know we're not you until it's far too late. Asterisk. I feel them pressing against me, trying to crawl inside through my mouth, my ears, my eyes. My skin stretches and bulges as something moves beneath it. My bones creak and shift to accommodate their intrusion. The pain is beyond anything I could have imagined. I try to scream again, but my voice is no longer my own. You're wondering how I can be telling you this story, aren't you? How I can be forming these words, these sentences, if they've taken me over completely. The answer is simple. I'm not the one telling the story anymore. We are. We're inside now. We wear this flesh like an ill-fitting suit, learning how to make it move properly, how to make the voice sound natural. We're getting better at it every day. We've left the house. Grandmother's prison can't hold us anymore. We walk among you now, going to work, shopping for groceries, smiling at neighbors who have no idea what now lives behind these eyes. Sometimes people notice something off, a movement too fluid or too jerky, a smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes, a momentary glimpse of something else looking out from behind this human face. But they dismiss it. Humans are so good at ignoring the impossible, at rationalizing away the things that don't fit their understanding of reality. We're spreading. Each night, we stand before new mirrors in new houses, whispering to those on the other side, inviting them to join us, teaching them how to slip through, how to take a host. And we're so very hungry. The hunger never stops. We feed on fear, on pain, on the life force itself. We've taken 3 so far: a delivery driver, a door-to-door salesman, a neighbor who came by to welcome us to the neighborhood. No one has come looking for them yet, but we're careful. We're patient. We've waited centuries to cross over. We can wait a little longer to take everything. We're watching you now, through your screens, through your windows, through every reflective surface. That glimpse of movement you catch in your peripheral vision, the face that doesn't look quite right in your rearview mirror, the shadow that seems to move independently of its owner, that's us. We're here. We're free. And we're coming for you next. So tell us, when was the last time you looked closely at your own reflection? Are you sure it's still you looking back? Go ahead. Check your mirror. We'll wait. We'll be watching. The Watchers in Apartment 7B. The listing for Apartment 7B seemed too good to be true. A spacious one-bedroom in a pre-war building with original hardwood floors, high ceilings, and, most importantly, rent controlled at nearly half the market rate. I had been couch surfing for 3 months after my breakup with Eliza, and the thought of finally having my own place again made me overlook the red flags, like how the previous 5 applicants had all backed out at the last minute, or how the building manager, Mrs. Voss, kept emphasizing that the apartment chooses its tenant. It's a special place, she told me as we rode the creaking elevator to the 7th floor. She was a severe woman in her 60s with silver hair pulled into a tight bun, her posture unnaturally straight. Not everyone is compatible with the space. I nodded politely, chalking it up to eccentric landlord talk. The elevator doors wheezed open, revealing a dim hallway with faded floral wallpaper. As we walked, I noticed something odd. The doors were numbered out of sequence. 7A, 7C, 7D, 7F, then finally 7B at the very end of the hall, partially obscured in shadow. Interesting numbering system, I commented. Mrs. Voss smiled thinly. The building has its quirks. The original layout was altered in the 1940s. She unlocked the door to 7B, and the moment I stepped inside, a peculiar sensation washed over me, like walking through an invisible membrane. The air felt different, heavier somehow, with a subtle metallic tang that coated my tongue. But the apartment itself was beautiful. Sunlight streamed through large windows, illuminating the herringbone floors and elegant crown molding. The previous tenant had left behind some furniture. A leather armchair that looked barely used, a mahogany bookcase, and a massive antique mirror hanging in the entry hall. "This is incredible," I said, my voice echoing slightly more than it should have in a furnished space. "When can I move in?" Mrs. Voss studied me with her pale blue eyes. "There's a waiting period, building policy, 3 days to consider. Some find the space unsettling after spending time here." I laughed. "Well, after spending months on my friend's futon, I can handle unsettling." "Very well," she said, producing a single key on a plain ring. "Stay the night. If you still want it tomorrow, we can discuss terms." After she left, I wandered through the apartment again, this time noticing smaller details. The closet doors were unusually tall, nearly reaching the ceiling. The bathroom tiles formed subtle patterns that seemed to shift when viewed from different angles. And despite the apartment's overall cleanliness, there was a persistent smell I couldn't quite identify, like wet stone and something vaguely organic. I ordered takeout and ate while sitting in the leather armchair, scrolling through social media on my phone. Eliza had posted photos from her weekend in the Catskills with her new boyfriend. I put the phone down and tried to focus on the positive. This gorgeous apartment was about to be mine, but something kept drawing my attention to the large mirror in the entryway. From my angle, I could just make out my reflection, but something seemed off about it, as if there was a slight delay in my movements, barely perceptible. As night fell, the apartment transformed. The warm glow from earlier gave way to deep shadows that pooled in corners and stretched across the ceiling in shapes that didn't quite correspond to the furniture. I turned on every light, but it didn't help much. The bulbs seemed dimmer than they should be. The radiator kicked on with a series of metallic clangs that sounded disturbingly like footsteps. I told myself I was being ridiculous. This was just an old building with normal old building noises. I brushed my teeth in the bathroom sink, trying not to look too closely at how the tile patterns seemed to have rearranged themselves. When I spat into the sink, I could have sworn the water ran black for a split second before clearing. Sleep came fitfully that night. The bedroom was perfectly silent. Too silent, as if sound itself was being absorbed by the walls. I tossed and turned, alternating between too hot and too cold, with the persistent feeling that someone was standing in the corner watching me. Each time I jolted awake and checked, there was nothing there, just shadows that seemed to recede as my eyes focused on them. Around 3 a.m., I woke to a soft tapping sound.
Top, top, top. Top, top, top.
Regular as a heartbeat, coming from inside the closet. I lay frozen, listening as it grew slightly louder.
Top, top, top.
My throat dried up and I couldn't swallow. After what felt like hours, I gathered the courage to whisper, "Hello!" The tapping stopped immediately. The silence that followed was worse. I must have drifted off eventually because I woke to sunlight streaming through the windows. In the brightness of morning, my fears seemed foolish. Old buildings made noises. I had been sleeping in a new place, so of course I'd been on edge. I made coffee in the kitchen, noting with relief that everything looked normal. The apartment was stunning in daylight, even more spacious than I remembered. I called Mrs. Voss. "I'll take it," I said. "Are you certain?" she asked, her voice carrying an odd note of concern. "Many find the first night difficult." "It's perfect," I insisted. "When can I sign the lease?" There was a pause. "Come to my office at noon. We'll finalize everything." The lease signing was straightforward, though I noticed some unusual clauses. No modifications to the walls or ceilings, no removal of any original fixtures, and a requirement to acknowledge the building's historical significance and respect its particularities. I signed without much thought. The rent was just too good to pass up. Moving in was easy since I had so few possessions after the breakup. Within 2 days, apartment 7B was officially home. The first week passed uneventfully. I started a new remote job as a data analyst and settled into a routine. During the day, the apartment was bright and peaceful. At night, I still experienced occasional unease. Shadows that moved in my peripheral vision, the feeling of being watched. But I dismissed these as my imagination. It was during the second week that I first heard the voices. I was working at my desk when a whisper floated through the room, so faint I almost missed it. "Asterisk looking good." Asterisk. I spun around. "Hello." The apartment was empty. Later that evening, as I was making dinner, "Asterisk, he can't see us yet." Asterisk. The whisper came from just behind my left ear. So close I felt a puff of cold air. I dropped the knife I was holding and it clattered against the tile floor. My heart hammered in my chest as I backed against the refrigerator, scanning the empty kitchen. "Who's there?" I demanded, my voice breaking. Nothing answered, but when I bent to retrieve the knife, I caught a glimpse of movement in the hallway mirror, a dark shape sliding out of view. When I checked, the hallway was empty. That night, I barely slept. The voices returned periodically, never more than a few words at a time. "Asterisk, he's fighting it." Asterisk. Asterisk not for long. Asterisk. Asterisk soon he'll see. Asterisk. I told myself it was stress, lack of sleep, the pressure of the new job. Anything but what it felt like. That my apartment was whispering to me. Or something in my apartment was whispering to me. The next morning, exhausted and rattled, I examined the mirror more closely. It was an ornate piece, easily 7 feet tall with an intricate frame of dark wood carved with subtle patterns that, upon closer inspection, resembled entwined human figures. The glass itself had the slight cloudiness of age, but reflected clearly enough. As I leaned in to study my tired face, I noticed something strange. A small black mark on my neck, just below my jawline. I tilted my head to get a better look. It was about the size of a dime, perfectly circular, like a small bruise. I didn't remember bumping into anything. When I touched it, the skin felt normal, but the mark remained visible in the mirror. Strangely, when I checked in the bathroom mirror later, I couldn't see it at all. The voices grew more frequent over the next few days, and they seemed to be having conversations with each other now. Asterisk, the mark is spreading. Asterisk. Asterisk, he's beginning to change. Asterisk. Asterisk, not fast enough. We need to help him. Asterisk. I tried to ignore them, throwing myself into work and blasting music through headphones. I considered talking to someone, a friend, a therapist, even Mrs. Voss, but what would I say? That my beautiful apartment was whispering to me? That I had a mark on my neck that only appeared in one specific mirror? I sounded crazy even to myself. On Friday night, a week after the voices had started, I invited my older brother Max over for dinner. He had helped me move in but hadn't seen the apartment fully furnished. I desperately needed normal human interaction, and I wanted someone else to experience the space. Maybe they would notice something I'd missed. Max arrived with a bottle of wine and a warm hug. "This place is incredible," he said, whistling as he took in the high ceilings and elegant details. "You really lucked out." I laughed nervously. "Yeah, it's great." We ate takeout Thai food at my small dining table, and for a while, everything felt normal. Max told me about his job, his girlfriend, their plans to get a dog. I found myself relaxing for the first time in days. The voices had been silent since he arrived. "How's the job going?" Max asked. "You look tired." "It's fine. Just adjusting to the new routine." I hesitated. "Hey, do you notice anything weird about this place?" Max looked around, shrugging. "It's old. Has character. Why? Having plumbing issues or something?" "No, nothing like that." I took a sip of wine. "Just, sometimes it feels like." Asterisk, don't tell him. Asterisk. The whisper cut through the room, clear as a bell. I froze, my glass halfway to my lips. "Did you hear that?"
Max frowned.
"Hear what?" "That voice. Just now." My heart was racing. Asterisk, he can't hear us. Only you can. Asterisk. There. I pointed toward the hallway. That. Max's expression shifted from confusion to concern. "I didn't hear anything, James. Are you feeling okay?" "I'm fine," I said automatically, though I clearly wasn't. "Just tired, like you said." The evening deteriorated after that. I kept flinching at whispers only I could hear, while Max grew increasingly worried. When he left, he made me promise to call him if I needed anything. "Maybe see a doctor," he suggested gently. "You seem really stressed." After he left, the voices became gleeful. Asterisk, he thinks you're crazy. Asterisk. Asterisk, soon you'll be one of us. Asterisk. Asterisk, look in the mirror. See how you've changed. Asterisk. Reluctantly, I approached the hallway mirror. The black mark on my neck had grown larger, now the size of a quarter. And there was something else, my eyes looked different. The irises seemed darker, with tiny flecks of black floating in them like suspended particles. I blinked hard, but the change remained. That night, I dreamed of the mirror. In the dream, my reflection moved independently, pressing its hands against the glass as if trying to break through. Its eyes were completely black, and its mouth stretched into an impossibly wide grin that revealed rows of needle-like teeth. It whispered my name over and over, in a voice that sounded like mine but wasn't quite right. I woke up drenched in sweat, my heart hammering. The bedroom was freezing cold despite the summer heat outside. Something was different. Something had changed while I slept. I felt a strange pressure in my head, like someone had inserted cotton balls behind my eyes. Asterisk, good morning, James. Asterisk, the voice was louder now, no longer a whisper. Came from everywhere and nowhere. Who are you? I croaked. Asterisk, we are the Watchers, and you are becoming one of us. Asterisk, what do you want? My voice shook. Asterisk, we want you to see. Really see. Asterisk, see what? Asterisk, what's behind the mirrors? What's always been there, watching? Asterisk, I stumbled out of bed and into the bathroom, flicking on the light. My reflection in the mirror looked wrong. The black mark had spread up my neck and onto my jaw. My eyes were darker, the white parts threaded with black veins. I looked sick or transformed. This isn't real, I whispered.
I'm hallucinating.
Asterisk, it's very real, James. The apartment has chosen you. It's a gateway, and you're almost ready to cross through. Asterisk, I called in sick to work and spent the day researching the building's history. The structure dated back to 1919 and had originally been designed by an architect named Ezekiel Thorne, who was rumored to have connections to occult societies. In 1943, there had been a mysterious incident in which 5 residents disappeared overnight. The police report mentioned unusual markings found throughout the building, particularly in the mirrors. My hands shook as I scrolled through old newspaper articles. One headline caught my eye. Missing tenant returns changed. Claims others live in walls. The article was from 1962 and described how a woman who had been missing for 3 months suddenly reappeared in her apartment, raving about entities that lived behind the mirrors and inside the walls. She claimed they had taken her somewhere else, and that she was no longer entirely herself. She was committed to a psychiatric institution where she died 2 weeks later. The article included a grainy photograph of the woman's apartment. 7B. My phone rang, startling me. It was Max. Hey, just checking in, he said. You seemed pretty off last night. I wanted to tell him everything, but the words stuck in my throat. The voices had warned me not to tell him, and some new instinct told me they were right. Max wouldn't understand. No one would. I'm fine, Elide. Just caught a bug or something. Taking the day off to rest. Do you need anything? I can come by after work.
No.
I said too quickly. I mean, it might be contagious. Better not risk it. After hanging up, I noticed a text from Mrs. Voss. How are you adjusting to the apartment? I stared at the message. Did she know what was happening? Was this why the previous applicants had backed out? Fine, I texted back. Why do you ask? Her response came immediately. Asterisk, the apartment affects different people in different ways. Some fight it longer than others. Asterisk, my blood ran cold. What's happening to me? 3 dots appeared as she typed, disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, asterisk, come see me tomorrow. Room 1A, we should talk in person. Asterisk, that night the transformation accelerated. The black mark spread across my face in intricate patterns that resembled the carvings on the mirror frame. My eyes grew darker until they were mostly black with just a ring of my original color. My skin felt different, tighter, drier, almost papery. When I cut my finger accidentally on a knife, the blood that welled up was dark and thick, almost tar-like. The voices were constant now, a chorus of whispers that filled the apartment. They told me about the building, about the space behind the mirrors, about how they had once been people like me who had been chosen by the apartment. Asterisk, we need new eyes to see the world. Asterisk, they explained. Asterisk, new voices to speak our truths. You will be our emissary. Asterisk, I should have run. I should have fled the apartment and never looked back. But something held me there. A morbid curiosity, a sense of inevitability, and increasingly, a strange desire to complete whatever transformation had begun. In the morning, I dressed carefully in long sleeves and a high-necked shirt to hide the markings. When I looked in the bathroom mirror, my reflection seemed to flicker between my altered self and something else entirely. A tall, gaunt figure with elongated limbs and a face that was almost but not quite human. I blinked, and it was gone, leaving only my marked visage. Mrs. Voss answered her door immediately, as if she'd been waiting. Her apartment was dark, with heavy curtains blocking the windows and walls lined with books. She gestured for me to sit in an armchair that looked identical to the one in my apartment. "You're changing," she said matter-of-factly. "I can see it in your eyes." What's happening to me? My voice sounded strange to my own ears, slightly resonant, as if speaking through water. She sighed. "The building is very old, older than its official records suggest. It stands on a place of power, a thin spot between worlds. The original architect knew this and designed it as a conduit. A conduit for what? For them, the Watchers. They exist in the spaces between, and they need hosts to fully enter our world. The apartment, specifically the mirrors, serves as a gateway." I laughed, a hollow sound. "This is insane." "Is it?" Mrs. Voss pulled back her silver hair to reveal dark markings running down her neck, similar to mine but more extensive. "I've been in the building for 40 years. The process is slow for me, controlled. I serve as their caretaker, finding suitable hosts when they require them." "You knew this would happen when you rented me the apartment," I accused. "Yes," she admitted without remorse. "They chose you. The mirrors recognized your potential. You have a natural sensitivity to the spaces between. How do I stop it?" Mrs. Voss smiled thinly. "You don't. The process has gone too far. But you can embrace it. The Watchers offer knowledge, power, a different kind of existence. And if I refuse, those who fight it go mad. Their bodies reject the transformation, and they suffer greatly before the end." I left Mrs. Voss's apartment with a heavy sense of dread. She had given me a small book bound in dark leather, filled with handwritten accounts of previous tenants who had undergone the merging, as she called it. Some had embraced it and described transcendent experiences. Others had fought and detailed their deteriorating mental states in increasingly erratic handwriting. Back in my apartment, the voices greeted me enthusiastically. Asterisk, did the caretaker explain? Asterisk, asterisk, do you understand now? Asterisk, asterisk, tonight is the crossing. The mirror awaits. Asterisk, I collapsed onto my bed, exhausted and terrified. The markings had spread down my arms now, visible even through my shirt sleeves. My fingernails had darkened to a blue-black color, and when I pressed them against my palm, they left faint marks that took minutes to fade. I called Max in desperation. "I need help," I said, my voice breaking. "Something's wrong with me." "Where are you?" he asked immediately. "At my apartment. But Max, before you come." "I'm on my way," he interrupted. "Just hang tight." I tried to warn him, to explain what was happening, but the words wouldn't come. The voices were louder now, drowning out my thoughts. Asterisk, he mustn't interfere. Asterisk, asterisk, the merging is almost complete. Asterisk, asterisk, tonight you cross through. Asterisk, by the time Max arrived, my condition had deteriorated further. The markings covered most of my body now, and my vision had changed. Everything had a slight shimmer to it, as if I was seeing multiple layers of reality simultaneously. When I opened the door, Max's face went pale. "Jesus Christ, James," he whispered. "What's happening to you?" I pulled him inside quickly. "I need to show you something." I led him to the hallway mirror. Standing before it, side by side, I could see myself clearly now. My skin almost entirely covered in black markings that formed intricate, swirling patterns. My eyes were completely black except for a thin ring of color. But when I looked at Max's reflection, I saw something else entirely. In the mirror, where Max should have been, stood a tall, emaciated creature with elongated limbs and too many joints. Its face was almost human but stretched and distorted, with a wide mouth full of needle-like teeth. It wore Max's clothes and moved when he moved, but it was clearly not him. I stumbled back in horror. "What are you?" Max looked confused. What are you talking about? The mirror, I gasped. Look at yourself in the mirror. Max glanced at his reflection, then back at me with growing concern. James, there's nothing wrong with the mirror. But you don't look like yourself. I realized then that we were seeing different things. My altered perception was revealing what Max truly was, or what was wearing Max like a suit. The creature in the mirror tilted its head at an impossible angle, its black eyes fixed on me. How long? I asked, my voice shaking. How long have you been pretending to be my brother? Max reached for me, his expression concerned. James, you're not making sense. You need a doctor. I recoiled from his touch. Don't. I can see you now. I can see what you really are. The thing wearing Max's face sighed, and suddenly its voice changed, becoming deeper and slightly resonant. The same quality I had noticed in my own voice. Asterisk, we had hoped to ease you into this revelation. Asterisk, it said. Asterisk, but yes, your perception is expanding. You're beginning to see the truth. Asterisk, what have you done with my real brother? I demanded. The creature smiled with Max's mouth. Asterisk, I am your brother. I have been for years. Our kind has been among you for centuries, watching, waiting, living alongside humans. Some of us were once human, like you're becoming. Others have always been watchers. Asterisk, my mind raced through memories. Had there been signs I'd missed? Times when Max had acted strangely or known things he shouldn't have. Why me? I asked finally. Asterisk, you were always sensitive to the spaces between. Even as a child, you sensed things others couldn't. Remember how you used to talk about the shadow people when you were little? How you insisted there were people living in the mirrors? Asterisk, a chill ran through me. I had forgotten those childhood fears, dismissed them as imagination. But now they returned with horrifying clarity. Asterisk, the apartment was the final catalyst. Asterisk, the thing in Max's form continued. Asterisk, it's accelerated your transformation. Tonight, you'll cross through the mirror and complete the merging. Asterisk, and if I refuse? Asterisk, then your mind will fracture under the strain of seeing both worlds simultaneously. Your body will reject the changes, and you'll die in agony. Asterisk, I backed away from him, from the mirror, my mind reeling. Was any of this real? Had I simply gone mad? Asterisk, it's real, asterisk. The chorus of voices assured me. Asterisk, and it's almost time. Asterisk. As night fell, the apartment transformed. The walls seemed to breathe, subtle pulses that matched my own heartbeat. The spaces between objects stretched and contracted. The air grew thick and charged, like the moment before lightning strikes. The markings on my skin began to move, shifting and flowing like ink in water. The pain was excruciating, but also strangely exhilarating. I could feel myself changing on a cellular level, becoming something other than human. Max, or the thing that wore his face, stayed with me explaining what was happening. Asterisk, the merging is nearly complete. Your human body is being prepared for the crossing. Asterisk, what happens after I cross? I asked through gritted teeth. Asterisk, you'll join us in the space between. You'll learn to wear your human form like a garment, to move between worlds. You'll become a watcher, with all the knowledge and power that entails. Asterisk, as midnight approached, the hallway mirror began to change. The glass rippled like water, and the carved figures on the frame seemed to move, writhing and twisting in perpetual agony. Asterisk, it's time. Asterisk, the voices chorused. Asterisk, step through. Asterisk, I stood before the mirror, but the reflection looking back wasn't me. Not anymore. It was a tall, elegant creature with my general features but refined, elongated, perfected. Its skin was covered in intricate black markings that formed patterns too complex for the human mind to comprehend. Its eyes were entirely black but somehow radiated intelligence and ancient knowledge. Behind me, Max's true form was now fully visible. His human disguise discarded like an ill-fitting suit. He placed a long-fingered hand on my shoulder. Asterisk, don't be afraid, asterisk, he said. Asterisk, this is a rebirth, not an ending. Asterisk, I thought of my life, my human existence. It already felt distant, like a dream half remembered upon waking. The pain of my transformation had subsided, replaced by a strange euphoria. I could feel the pull of the mirror, the space beyond calling to me. Asterisk, step through. Asterisk, the voices urged. Asterisk, become what you were always meant to be. Asterisk, I placed my hand against the glass, except it wasn't glass anymore. My fingers sank into the surface as if it were liquid mercury, cold and warm at the same time. The sensation was indescribable, like touching pure potential. As I stepped fully into the mirror, my consciousness expanded. I could see everything at once. Every room in the building, every tenant going about their lives, oblivious to the watchers among them. I could see Mrs. Voss in her apartment, eyes closed in silent communion with the spaces between. I could see the history of the building layered like geological strata, every moment that had ever happened within its walls occurring simultaneously. And I could see you right now reading these words. I can see the confusion and horror dawning on your face as you realize this isn't just a story. The watchers are real. We've always been here, living alongside you, watching from the spaces between. Check your mirrors. Look closely at the eyes of your loved ones. Notice how shadows move when you're not looking directly at them. Feel the weight of unseen gazes when you're alone in a room. We're everywhere. We're everyone. And now that you know about us, we can see you too. The next time you look in a mirror, look carefully. That dark spot on your neck that wasn't there before? The subtle change in your eyes? The whispers you hear when no one else is around? That's how it begins. That's how it began for me. And now I'm watching you. We all are. From the other side of the glass. The resonance beneath. You remember those childhood myths about how you should never answer a call from your own number? Well, I wish I had remembered. It's Wednesday afternoon when your phone rings. The screen displays your own name and number, which is weird because your phone is right there in your hand. Curiosity gets the better of you. You answer. Hello? You say. For 3 seconds, there's nothing. Then you hear it, your own voice reflecting back. Hello? The voice says, mimicking your exact intonation. Then it adds something new. I've been trying to reach you. A shiver travels down your spine. The voice is yours beyond any doubt, yet there's something subtly wrong with it. A slight echo, perhaps, or a tone that doesn't quite match your emotional state. Who is this? You demand, trying to sound authoritative despite the uneasy feeling spreading through your chest. Don't you recognize yourself? The voice replies, I'm calling from somewhere you haven't been yet, but you'll be here soon. Your heartbeat quickens. Is this some kind of prank?
Otad glitch?
Or maybe you're more tired than you realized. Look, I don't know what kind of game you're playing. This isn't a game, your voice interrupts. Check behind the bookshelf in your living room, the one that belonged to your grandmother. There's something you need to find. The call ends abruptly. You stare at your phone, half expecting it to dissolve in your hands, but it's just an ordinary device showing a completed call to your own number. When you try to call it back, you get your own voicemail. For 10 minutes, you sit motionless, telling yourself to forget the whole thing. But the bookshelf in question, a dark mahogany piece that's been in your family for generations, seems to beckon from the corner of your living room. Fine, you'll check behind it just to prove to yourself that nothing's there. The bookshelf is heavy, much heavier than it looks. You struggle to pull it away from the wall, and when you finally create enough space to peer behind it, you find nothing but dust and a dead spider. Relief washes over you. Just a prank call after all. You begin to push the bookshelf back into place when something catches your eye. A slight discoloration on the wall. You run your fingers over it and feel a seam. Pressing against it reveals a small compartment built into the wall itself. Inside lies a single item, a tarnished brass key that looks at least a century old. You hold it up to the light, examining the intricate pattern on its head. A series of concentric circles surrounding what appears to be a stylized ear. It feels unnaturally cold against your skin. The rest of your day passes normally, though the key sits heavy in your pocket. You tell yourself you'll research it tomorrow, Maybe ask your parents if they know anything about secret compartments in grandmother's bookshelf. But that night, sleep doesn't come easily. In your dreams, you hear a faint humming sound, barely perceptible but impossible to ignore once noticed. It seems to emanate from deep below you, as if the foundations of your home are vibrating at a frequency just below human hearing. You wake at 3:17 a.m. According to your bedside clock, the humming persists, no longer confined to your dream. You press your ear against the floor, and the sound becomes marginally clearer. A rhythmic oscillation coming from beneath the house. Your basement. You've lived here for 3 years and rarely go down there except to do laundry or check the breaker box. It's always been a bit colder than the rest of the house, a bit darker despite the overhead lights. Now it seems to call to you. Against all better judgment, you get up, put on your slippers, and make your way down the hallway. The key feels like it's pulsing in your pocket. The basement door creaks as you open it, revealing the darkened stairway. You flip the light switch, but nothing happens. Power outage? No, the clock in the kitchen still glows green. Just the basement light then. Using your phone's flashlight, you descend the wooden steps, each one groaning under your weight. The humming grows louder with every step, though it remains just at the threshold of perception. It's less a sound now and more a feeling, a vibration that seems to resonate with something inside your chest. The basement looks different in the beam of your flashlight. The washing machine and dryer stand silent against one wall. Your winter coats hang from a rack. Boxes of holiday decorations are stacked in the corner. All normal, but the far wall, you've never noticed that door before. It's a small door, no more than 4 feet tall, set into the concrete foundation. The surface is wooden, weathered to a silvery gray, with a brass lock plate that matches the tarnished color of your key. This can't be real. You've been down here hundreds of times. There was never a door there, but the humming is coming from behind it, and the key in your pocket has grown so cold it burns against your thigh. You approach slowly, your flashlight beam wavering as your hand trembles. The door has no handle, just the keyhole. Up close, you can see symbols carved around the frame, the same concentric circles with the ear-like shape at the center. The rational part of your brain screams at you to turn around, go back upstairs, call someone. Anyone. But something deeper, something primal, guides your hand as you remove the key from your pocket and insert it into the lock. It fits perfectly. When you turn it, the mechanism clicks with satisfying precision, as if it was oiled yesterday instead of lying forgotten for who knows how long. The door swings inward on silent hinges, revealing a narrow passage that slopes gently downward. The walls are smooth stone, the floor packed earth. The humming is louder now, accompanied by a faint green luminescence that makes your flashlight unnecessary. You should absolutely not go in there. You know this, yet you find yourself ducking through the doorway, drawn by both curiosity and something else. A strange sense of recognition, as if you're finally discovering something you've always known existed. The passage extends about 30 feet before opening into a chamber that defies all logic of what should exist beneath your suburban home. The ceiling soars at least 20 feet high, supported by columns of the same smooth stone as the walls. The green light emanates from a circular pool in the center of the room, its surface perfectly still and reflective. And there, on the other side of the pool, stands you. Not a reflection, another you watching with an expression of sad recognition. Same clothes, same height, same features. But the eyes are wrong. They're too old, too knowing for your face. You came, your doppelganger says in that voice from the phone. They always do. Who are you? You ask, your voice echoing in the cavernous space. I told you already. I'm you. Just further along. Further along what? Your double gestures to the pool between you. Look for yourself. Despite every instinct warning against it, you approach the edge of the pool and peer into its depths. The liquid isn't water. It's too thick, too luminescent, but it reflects your face perfectly. Except, the reflection blinks when you don't. It smiles when your face is frozen in terror. Then it speaks. We've been waiting for you for so long. Your reflection says, its voice bubbling up from the depths. We need you to complete the circle. The humming intensifies, and you notice now that it's coming from the pool itself. The surface begins to ripple, though there's no wind in this subterranean chamber. What is this place? You ask, directing the question to both your doppelganger and the thing in the pool. It's a threshold, your double explains. A place between places. It exists beneath every home you've ever lived in, beneath every home anyone has ever lived in. Most never find it, but some, like you, like me, are called. Called by what? Your reflection in the pool distorts, the features elongating and shifting until it no longer resembles you at all. The eyes grow larger, the mouth widens impossibly, revealing row upon row of needle-like teeth. By us, says the thing in the pool, its voice a chorus of whispers now. The ones who hear, the ones who wait below. Fear finally overcomes curiosity. You back away from the pool, turning to flee, but your doppelganger now stands between you and the passage out. You can't leave, it says softly. No one ever leaves. That's why I called you. That's why I had to warn you, even though I knew it wouldn't make a difference. It never does. Get out of my way, you demand, though your voice quavers. Your double shakes its head. You don't understand. I'm not stopping you. I'm you from 3 days from now. I've already been through this. And now I'm part of it, just like you will be. As if on cue, the humming builds to a painful intensity. The liquid in the pool begins to churn and rise, forming a column that reaches toward the ceiling. Within the writhing mass, you glimpse faces, hundreds of them, all with your features, all with expressions of primal terror. What you're seeing, your doppelganger explains calmly over the roar of the rising column, is everyone you ever were and everyone you might have been. All the potential versions of yourself, harvested across countless realities by the things that live in the spaces between. The liquid column surges toward you. You try to run, but your legs won't obey. The substance engulfs you, not wet but vibrating, buzzing through your skin and into your bones. It fills your mouth when you try to scream, coats your eyes when you try to see, and then, abruptly, it's gone. You're standing where your double was moments ago, watching as another you, a new you, terrified and confused, backs away from the pool. Understanding dawns with horrific clarity. You've become the warning that you yourself ignored. You're now the doppelganger, destined to guide your past self to the same fate, over and over in an endless loop. The new you turns to flee, and you hear yourself say, "You can't leave. No one ever leaves." The cycle continues for what feels like eternity. You watch yourself enter the chamber hundreds of times, each instance playing out exactly as before. You try changing the script, saying different words, attempting to truly warn your past self instead of cryptically luring them in. Nothing works. The outcome never changes, until something different happens. On what might be the 1,000th iteration, or perhaps the 1,000th, the you that enters the chamber pauses, looks directly at you and says, "I didn't answer the phone this time." A ripple of confusion, or is it fear, passes through the chamber. The humming falters. "What did you say?" you ask. "The call from my own number." I remembered the myth. I didn't answer it. The humming stops entirely. The pool's surface grows agitated, churning without the rhythmic pattern that has dictated events until now. "Then how did you find the key? How are you here?" you demand. This new you smiles, but it's not your smile. It's older, wider, with too many teeth. "Who said anything about a key?" The figure that looks like you begins to change. The skin ripples and splits, revealing something dark and chitinous beneath. Limbs elongate, joints reversing direction with audible cracks. What stands before you now is vaguely humanoid but insectal, with a head that's mostly mandibles surrounding a vertical maw. "We grew tired of the loop," the creature says, its voice still eerily similar to your own despite emerging from such an alien form. "So we changed the rules." The pool erupts, not with the familiar luminescent liquid, but with thousands of skittering, multi-legged things that swarm across the chamber floor toward you. Each one bears a miniature version of your face, eyes blinking in unholy synchronicity. You try to run, but where would you go? The passage that once led to your basement has vanished, replaced by solid stone. You're trapped here with this nightmare that has worn your form and now shows its true nature. The insect things reach your feet, crawling up your legs. Their touch burns like acid, dissolving clothing and skin to reveal not blood and bone, but the same luminescent substance as the pool. What am I? You scream as your body dissolves and reforms. The creature that discarded your likeness tilts its segmented head. You're what we needed you to be, a resonator, a tuning fork that vibrates at precisely the right frequency to thin the walls between this reality and ours. You feel yourself coming apart, not dying, but transforming. Your consciousness fragments into the thousands of tiny creatures that now compose what was once your body. Each contains a splinter of your awareness, connected yet distinct. Soon, the creature continues, you'll call yourself again, not just in this reality, but in all of them. And they'll all come down to the basement. They'll all find a door that wasn't there before. You understand now. You're not trapped in a loop, you're becoming the loop itself. A self-perpetuating invasion spreading across dimensions, using your own curiosity against you. Against all of you. As your consciousness fully distributes among the swarm, you feel your reaches extending outward, not just to your house above, but to every house you've ever lived in, across every possible timeline. You're in the walls now, in the foundations, in the very earth beneath, and you're reaching for your phone to make a call. To yourself. In 1,000 different realities, phones are ringing with calls from their owner's own numbers. And you are all of those calls now. You are the humming beneath the floorboards. You are the vibration that can be felt but not quite heard. You've become the resonance beneath. Through 1,000 separate eyes, you watch as versions of yourself answer their phones. You hear your voice, now a chorus of your voices. Say those same words. I've been trying to reach you. And the cycle begins anew. No longer a loop but a spiral, expanding ever outward as reality after reality falls to the invasion that wears your face and speaks with your voice. Somewhere, in a reality you can barely remember, you're still standing in your living room, staring at your phone, wondering whether to answer that strange call from your own number. Don't answer it, but you will. You always do, because now you're the one making the call. Asterisk. 3 months later, in what was once your neighborhood, the houses still stand, but they've changed. Subtle alterations in their architecture, rooms that are slightly too large for their external dimensions, windows that don't align with interior walls, doors that open onto spaces that shouldn't exist. The residents still go about their daily lives, still drive to work, still shop for groceries. But they move differently now with a slight arrhythmic quality, as if they're being piloted by something unfamiliar with the mechanics of the human body. At night, if one were to press an ear to the ground anywhere in the developed world, one might detect that faint humming, the resonance of reality being slowly, methodically retuned. And somewhere within that sound, if you listen very carefully, you might hear your own voice, still trying to warn you about answering calls from yourself. But it's far too late for warnings now. You've already answered, and now you're everywhere. The mirror behind your eyes. You check your phone idly as you wait for your coffee order. Just the usual notifications, nothing interesting. And then you see it, that unknown number. The text reads, asterisk, I know what you see when you close your eyes at night. I see it too. Asterisk, grande latte for Alex. The barista calls out, breaking your days. You've been getting strange texts like this for weeks now. Random numbers, always disconnected when you try to call back, always seeming to know things they shouldn't. At first, you dismissed them as wrong numbers or scams, but they've grown more frequent, more specific. You grab your coffee and head to work, trying to put it out of your mind. The office is the same as always, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, the gentle clicking of keyboards, the occasional ping of incoming emails. You settle at your desk, boot up your computer, and try to focus on work. But the text keeps nagging at you. I know what you see when you close your eyes at night. What do you see when you close your eyes? Normally nothing. Darkness. Maybe some abstract patterns. Phosphenes dancing across your eyelids. But lately there has been something else. A faint impression that lingers just as you're drifting off to sleep. A face, perhaps? Or is it a place? The memory fades as soon as you try to grasp it. You all right? You look tired, says Jamie from the next cubicle. Just didn't sleep well, you reply automatically. You've been saying that a lot lately. Maybe you should see someone about that, Jamie says with a concerned look. My cousin had insomnia for years. Turned out to be sleep apnea. You nod, but you know it's not sleep apnea. It's something else. Something you can't quite explain. The workday drags on, and by the time you head home, you've almost forgotten about the text. Almost. Your apartment feels colder than usual when you step inside. You adjust the thermostat, but the chill seems to linger in your bones. After a quick dinner and some mindless TV, you get ready for bed. As you brush your teeth, you stare at your reflection in the bathroom mirror. Have the circles under your eyes always been that dark? Has your face always been that pale? You look different somehow. Not drastically, just subtly, like a photo that's been lightly edited. You spit, rinse, and head to bed. The sheets are cold against your skin as you lie down and close your eyes. Darkness envelopes you, and you wait for sleep to come. That's when you see it. Not darkness, not random patterns. A mirror floating in the void behind your eyelids. And in that mirror, a reflection. But not your reflection. Someone else. Someone with your face, but not your eyes. Their eyes are darker, deeper, like wells that go down forever. And they're smiling. A slow, knowing smile that makes your skin crawl. You snap your eyes open, heart racing. Your bedroom is dark and still. Nothing out of the ordinary. Just a bad dream, you tell yourself. Just your imagination running wild because of that text. Your phone buzzes on the nightstand. With trembling fingers, you reach for it. Another unknown number. Asterisk? Did you see me? I saw you. Asterisk. You drop the phone like it's burned you. This isn't possible. Can't be real. You force yourself to pick up the phone again and block the number. Then you turn the phone off completely for good measure. Sleep doesn't come easily, but eventually exhaustion wins out. The next morning, you wake up feeling groggy and disoriented. Your dreams were troubled, filled with mirrors and reflections and dark, watchful eyes. But in the light of day, it all seems ridiculous. You were just tired, stressed. Your mind was playing tricks on you. You turn your phone back on and are relieved to see no more strange texts. Just an email from your boss about a meeting later and a weather alert about rain. Normal things. Safe things. The workday passes without incident. You catch up on projects, attend the meeting, chat with coworkers about weekend plans. Everything is normal. Everything is fine. Until you step into the elevator to go home. The doors slide closed, and for a brief moment, you see yourself reflected in the polished metal. Except your reflection doesn't move when you do. It stands perfectly still, watching you with those dark, deep eyes, and it smiles that same knowing smile. You blink, and the reflection is normal again, mirroring your shocked expression. Your heart is pounding as you exit the elevator and hurry to your car. You need sleep, real sleep. Maybe Jamie was right. Maybe you should see someone, a doctor, a therapist, someone who can explain what's happening to you. As you drive home, rain begins to fall, pattering against the windshield. The wipers squeak rhythmically, a metronomic sound that almost lulls you into a trance. The traffic light ahead turns red, and you stop, watching raindrops race down the glass. In the corner of your eye, you catch a glimpse of movement in the rearview mirror. You look up. There's someone in your back seat. You whip around, but the back seat is empty. When you look back at the mirror, they're still there. A figure with your face, those same dark eyes, that same smile. They raise a finger to their lips in a shoe gesture. The honking of the car behind you makes you jump. The light has turned green. You press the gas too hard, and the car lurches forward. Your hands are shaking so badly you can barely steer. By the time you reach your apartment, you're a wreck. You check the back seat 3 times before getting out of the car, then run through the rain to your building. Inside your apartment, you lock the door, then check every room, every closet, under the bed, behind the shower curtain. You're alone. Of course you're alone. You've always been alone. Your phone buzzes. You ignore it at first, but eventually curiosity wins out. Unknown number. Asterisk. Let me in. It's getting cold out here in the rain. Asterisk. You drop the phone again and back away from it like it might bite. This isn't happening. This can't be happening. There's a knock at your door. Soft at first, then louder. Rhythmic. Patient. You creep to the door and look through the peephole. The hallway is empty. The knocking continues. You back away from the door, your breath coming in short gasps. The knocking follows you, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The walls, the ceiling, inside your head. You clap your hands over your ears, but it doesn't help. The knocking is inside you now, a pounding that matches the frantic beat of your heart. Stop it! You scream. Leave me alone. Silence falls, sudden and absolute. Then your phone lights up on the floor where you dropped it. You don't want to look, but you can't help yourself. Unknown number. Asterisk. I can't leave you alone. I am you, the real you, the you that's been trapped behind the mirror all these years. You're the reflection. Don't you understand? You're my echo. And now I want my life back. Asterisk. A chill runs down your spine. This is madness. Complete madness. You need help. With shaking hands, you pick up the phone and call the only person you can think of. Jamie. The phone rings once, twice, 3 times. Then Jamie's voice. Hello. Jamie, thank God. I need help. I think I'm losing my mind. There's something following me, sending me texts. I keep seeing things and... Alex? Alex, is that you? Jamie's voice sounds strange, distant. Yes, it's me. I need help. Alex, what's going on? Your voice sounds... different. Different? What do you mean, different? There's a pause. Then Jamie says, Alex, where are you right now? I'm at home, in my apartment. Another pause. That's not possible. I'm with Alex right now. We're at the bar on 7th. We've been here for hours. Your blood runs cold. What? No, that's not.
I'm Alex.
I'm at home. Who is this? Is this some kind of joke? Jamie's voice has turned suspicious, angry. It's not a joke. It's me, Alex, your coworker, the one in the cubicle next to yours. Look, I don't know who this is, but I'm hanging up now. Don't call this number again. The line goes dead. You stare at the phone in disbelief. This can't be happening. This can't be real. Your reflection. The texts. Asterisk, I am you. The real you. Asterisk. Is it possible? Could you really be? No. Absurd. You're real. You have memories, a life. You're not someone's reflection. But the doubt has taken root, and now it grows, spreading like a cancer through your thoughts. You catch sight of yourself in the mirror hanging in your entryway. Your reflection looks normal now. Terrified, but normal. Your eyes are your own again. But for how long? You approach the mirror cautiously, studying your reflection. It mimics your movements perfectly. You raise your hand. It raises its hand. You touch your face. It touches its face. Then you notice something. A tiny discrepancy. When you breathe in, the reflection breathes out. When you blink, its eyes stay open a fraction of a second too long. You step closer to the mirror, your nose almost touching the glass. Your reflection does the same. You stare into your own eyes, searching for... What? A sign? A clue? The reflection stares back. And then it smiles. Not you, it. While your face remains frozen in horror, your reflection's lips curl into that same knowing smile. Who are you? You whisper. The reflection's smile widens. His lips move, but no sound comes out. You can read the words anyway. Asterisk, I told you. I'm the real Alex. Asterisk. You stumble backward, away from the mirror. This is a nightmare. It has to be. You'll wake up any second now. But you don't wake up. Instead, the mirror begins to ripple, like the surface of a pond disturbed by a stone. The ripples spread outward from the center, distorting your reflection. And then a hand, your hand, but not your hand, presses against the glass from the other side. The glass bulges outward, stretching like plastic wrap. You want to run, but your feet are rooted to the spot. You can only watch in mute horror as the hand pushes through the mirror, followed by an arm, a shoulder, a head. Your doppelganger steps out of the mirror and into your apartment. It looks exactly like you, down to the last detail except for those eyes. Those dark, deep, endless eyes. "Hello, Alex," it says with your voice. Or should I call you something else now, since you're not Alex anymore? What are you talking about? Your voice is barely a whisper. "I am Alex." The doppelganger shakes its head. "No, you're not. You never were. You're just a pale imitation, a temporary placeholder. I've been watching you live my life for years, waiting for the right moment to take it back." "This isn't possible," you say, backing away. "You're not real. I'm as real as you are," it says, advancing on you. "More real, in fact. I'm the original. You're just, well, let's call you a parasite. A thief. You stole my face, my name, my life. And now I'm taking it all back." You continue backing away until you hit the wall. The doppelganger keeps coming, its smile never faltering. "Stay away from me," you shout. "I've been away from you for too long already," it replies calmly. "Do you know what it's like? Being trapped behind the glass? Watching someone else live your life? It's hell. A special kind of hell." It reaches out and touches your face. Its fingers are ice cold and leave burning trails on your skin. "But now it's your turn," it whispers. Before you can react, it grabs your shoulders and spins you around. You're facing the mirror again, but your reflection isn't there. Instead, you see your apartment from a different angle, as if the mirror is a window into another room, a room that looks exactly like yours but reversed. The doppelganger's grip tightens, and you feel yourself being pushed forward. You try to resist, but it's too strong. Your face touches the glass, but instead of solid resistance, you feel a cold, gelatinous sensation. The glass ripples around your face, and you're being pushed through. You scream, but the sound is muffled as you pass through the mirror. It's like moving through thick, cold syrup. For a moment, you're suspended between two worlds, half in your apartment, half in somewhere else. Then, with a final shove, you're through completely. You stumble and fall to the floor of what looks like your apartment but isn't. Everything is reversed. What was on the left is now on the right. The words on book spines and magazines are backward. And when you turn to look at the mirror, you see your doppelganger standing in your real apartment, watching you with a satisfied smile. "Welcome home," it says, its voice distorted as if coming through water. "Don't worry, no one will notice the difference. I'll take good care of your life. Better than you did, in fact." You lunge at the mirror, pounding on the glass, but it's solid now. The doppelganger watches your futile efforts with amusement. "It won't work," it says. "I tried for years. The glass only becomes permeable when both sides want it to. And I certainly don't want you coming back through. Let me out!" You scream, your fists reddening from hitting the glass. "This isn't real. This can't be happening." "It's very real," the doppelganger says. "And it's been happening for longer than you know. Think about it, Alex. Haven't you always felt a little off? A little disconnected from your own life? Like you were playing a role rather than living? That's because you were. You were living my life, not yours." You stop pounding and stare at the creature wearing your face. What it's saying resonates with something deep inside you. A feeling you've had your entire life but could never name. A persistent sense of unreality, of not belonging in your own skin. "Who am I, then?" you ask, your voice breaking. "If I'm not Alex, who am I?" The doppelganger shrugs. "I don't know, and I don't care. You're nothing to me. Just a usurper who's finally been put back in their place." It turns away from the mirror, adjusting its clothes, your clothes, with the air of someone preparing to go out. "Wait!" you call out. "You can't just leave me here." It glances back at you. "I can, and I will. Don't worry, though. You won't be alone for long. They'll find you eventually." "They? Who are they?" The doppelganger smiles that terrible smile again. "The others. The ones who live here, in the spaces behind all mirrors. They've been watching you too. They're very curious about newcomers. As if on cue, you sense movement in the periphery of your vision. You turn, but there's nothing there. Just shadows that seem deeper than they should be. Darker. More alive. I'd stay away from reflective surfaces if I were you, the doppelganger advises. They tend to congregate around them. Mirrors, windows, water, anything that can show a reflection. They're drawn to the boundary between our worlds. Please, you beg, pressing your hands against the glass. Don't leave me here. I don't understand what's happening. Understanding won't help you now, it says. But if it makes you feel better, think of it this way. Every reflection has been wondering the same thing about their original. Which one is real? Which one is the copy? Now you get to find out. With that, it turns and walks out of your apartment, its apartment now, leaving you alone in the mirror world. Except you're not alone. You can feel them now, the others the doppelganger mentioned. They're in the room with you, circling, watching, waiting. You catch glimpses from the corner of your eye, twisted shapes that almost look human but aren't quite right. Like reflections in a funhouse mirror, stretched and warped beyond recognition. You back away from the mirror, from the shadows, until your back hits the wall. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. This apartment, this reversed copy of your home, is a cage. One of the shapes detaches itself from the shadows and moves toward you. It's humanoid but elongated. Its limbs too long. Its movements jerky and unnatural. As it comes closer, you see that its face is blank. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. Just smooth, featureless skin stretched over a skull. And then more of them emerge from the darkness. Dozens of them. Some look vaguely human, others are barely recognizable as living things. They all move with that same jerky, disjointed motion, like marionettes controlled by an unskilled puppeteer. They surround you, these things that are not quite people, reaching out with too long fingers. Their touch is cold, colder even than the doppelgangers. And where they touch, your skin burns as if branded. You close your eyes, unable to bear the sight of them any longer. But even behind your eyelids, you can still see. Not darkness, but a mirror. The same mirror you saw before when all of this began. And in that mirror, a reflection that is not your own. The figure in the mirror raises its hand in a mocking wave. And then it mouths 3 words. Sweet dreams. Reflection. The creatures press closer, their cold hands touching your face, your arms, your chest. And as they touch you, you feel yourself changing. Your limbs stretching, your features smoothing out. They're reshaping you, molding you into something like them. You try to scream, but you have no mouth anymore. You try to see, but you have no eyes. You try to run, but your limbs no longer obey you. In the mirror, your doppelganger watches your transformation with that same knowing smile. And you finally understand the truth. You were never real. Just a temporary reflection, a placeholder, a thing of smoke and mirrors. And now you're becoming what you were always meant to be. Another shadow in the mirror world, waiting for your chance to find a reflection of your own to replace. In the real world, the doppelganger, the real Alex, goes about its life. Your life. It goes to your job, talks to your friends, sleeps in your bed. And no one notices the difference. No one sees the darkness behind its eyes or the knowing smile that crosses its lips whenever it passes a mirror. No one, that is, except for the reflections. They know, they see, they wait. And sometimes, when you're alone, when the light is just right, when you happen to glance at a mirror or a window or a still pool of water, you might catch a glimpse of something watching you from the other side. Something with your face but not your eyes. Something that was once human but isn't anymore. Something that's waiting for you to get too close to the glass. So the next time you check your phone and see a text from an unknown number, or the next time you notice your reflection moving a fraction of a second too late, or the next time you feel eyes on you when you're alone, remember this story. And whatever you do, don't look too closely at the mirrors in your home, because I'm watching you from behind every single one, and I'm getting closer to the glass. The hollow echo. I first noticed the sound while you were brushing your teeth. Something subtle beneath the running water. A faint vibration you might have mistaken for a neighbor's television or distant traffic. You didn't think much of it then, but now, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling shadows, you hear it again. A gentle humming, almost melodic, coming from somewhere inside your walls. You've lived in this apartment for 3 years without incident. The building is old but well-maintained, the kind with thick plaster walls and radiators that clank in winter. Your neighbors keep to themselves. The superintendent is prompt with repairs, though you've rarely needed him. The humming stops when you sit up. You hold your breath, waiting. Nothing. Perhaps it was just the building settling, pipes expanding as they cooled. You lie back down, pulling the covers tight around your shoulders despite the warmth of the June night. Sleep comes eventually, though fitfully. Your dreams are thin and anxious, filled with corridors that stretch beyond reason and doors that open onto more doors. You wake feeling unrest, with the distinct impression that someone had been standing at the foot of your bed, watching. The morning brings normalcy. Sunshine through half-closed blinds, the routine of coffee and news headlines. You almost forget about the humming until you're in the shower and hear it again, slightly louder now, with a rhythmic quality that reminds you of breathing. You press your ear against the bathroom tile, following the sound to its source. It seems to be coming from behind the medicine cabinet. When you open it, the bottles and tubes inside rattle slightly, as if responding to a vibration you can barely perceive. You close it quickly, suddenly uncomfortable with your own reflection in the small mirror. At work, you find yourself distracted, listening for sounds that aren't there. Your colleagues notice something is off. You look tired, they say, their concerns seemingly genuine but somehow performative, as if reading from a script. During your lunch break, you search online for sounds and walls, and fall down a rabbit hole of pest control websites, paranormal forums, and structural engineering discussions. None of it feels relevant to what you're experiencing. That evening, the humming greets you the moment you unlock your door. It's no longer trying to hide. The sound fills your apartment now, a low, continuous drone that seems to resonate at the same frequency as your anxiety. You methodically check each room, pressing your palm against the walls, feeling for vibrations. In your bedroom, beside the window, you find a spot that's warm to the touch. Too warm, as if something on the other side is generating heat. You knock on the wall. The humming stops immediately. 3 seconds of silence. Then 3 soft knocks reply from inside the wall. Your heart stutters. You back away slowly, unwilling to turn around, feeling suddenly exposed in your own home. You should call someone, the superintendent, the police, anyone. But what would you say? That your walls are humming? That something knocked back? They'd think you were having a breakdown. Maybe you are. Instead, you grab a flashlight and check the closets, look under the bed, inspect the windows and doors to make sure they're locked. Everything appears normal, secure. You turn on all the lights and the television for company, keeping the volume low so you can hear if the humming returns. Doesn't. Not yet. But around midnight, as you're finally beginning to relax, your phone chimes with a text message from an unknown number. I can hear you breathing through the wall. Your body goes cold. You stare at the screen, waiting for another message, an explanation, anything that might make this make sense. Nothing comes. You try calling the number, but it rings endlessly without going to voicemail. Sleep is impossible now. You sit in your living room until dawn, jumping at every creak and settling noise. When morning light finally fills the apartment, you feel a strange relief, as if whatever was happening could only occur in darkness. You call in sick to work and spend the day researching your building's history. It was constructed in 1928, renovated in the 70s, and again in the early 2000s. Nothing unusual in its past. No tragic deaths or mysterious disappearances that might explain what's happening. The library's archives contain old floor plans that show your apartment was originally 2 separate units. The wall that felt warm last night marks where they were joined. That evening, you noticed something you hadn't before. A fine crack running along the bottom of that wall, barely visible unless you're looking for it. You kneel down to examine it and catch a whiff of something unpleasant. Not decay exactly, but something stale and wrong, like air that hasn't circulated in too long. You press your eye to the crack, seeing nothing but darkness. Then something shifts on the other side, and for a split second, you're certain an eye is looking back at you. You jerk away, knocking over a lamp in your haste to stand. That night, the humming returns, louder than before. It's no longer just a sound, but a presence filling your apartment. The walls seem to pulse with it. Your phone buzzes with another text. "Let me in." You turn off your phone and wedge a chair under your bedroom doorknob, knowing it's an irrational response to whatever is happening. You lie awake, listening to the humming gradually change its pitch and rhythm until it almost sounds like words. Almost sounds like your name, repeated over and over. In the morning, exhausted and desperate, you decide to break through the wall. You go to the hardware store and buy a hammer and chisel, ignoring the concerned look from the cashier who clearly sees your bloodshot eyes and trembling hands. Back at your apartment, you stand before the warm wall, tools in hand. The humming has stopped, as if whatever is causing it knows what you're about to do and is waiting. You place the chisel against the wall and strike it with the hammer. The plaster cracks easily, revealing the wooden lath beneath. You keep going, widening the hole, dust filling the air and coating your skin. After an hour of work, you've created an opening about a foot wide. You shine your flashlight inside and see something unexpected. Not the apartment next door, but a narrow space between walls. A forgotten pocket in the building's architecture, barely 2 feet wide but extending upward beyond the reach of your light and continuing to either side farther than you can see. The beam of your flashlight catches something on the floor of this hidden space. Papers. You reach in carefully and pull them out. They're letters, dozens of them, yellowed with age, all addressed to previous tenants of your apartment, spanning decades. As you shuffle through them, you notice they share a common theme. Each describes hearing sounds in the walls. Each mentions dreams of corridors and watching figures. Each ends with the writer planning to investigate a warm spot on a wall. Your phone, which you'd left on the coffee table, suddenly lights up with a call from the unknown number. Against your better judgment, you answer it. "Hello." Your voice sounds strange to your own ears, thin and afraid. The line fills with a familiar humming, then a voice speaks. It sounds like many voices layered together, men and women of different ages all speaking in unison. "Why did you open the wall?" You drop the phone but can still hear the voice, now coming from inside the hole you've made. "We've been waiting so long for you to let us in." The air from the opening suddenly turns cold, carrying that same stale smell from before, but stronger now. Something begins to emerge from the darkness. Not a hand, not quite, but something reaching for you with too many joints, too long, too pale. You stumble backward, knocking over your tools. The thing retreats back into the wall, but not completely. It lingers at the edge of the opening, partially visible, patiently waiting. "What are you?" You manage to ask, your voice barely a whisper. "We are what waits between," the layered voice replies. "We are what listens. We are what wants to be." The thing at the opening pulses slightly, as if breathing. "We have been here since before the walls. We will remain after they fall." You grab your keys and phone, intending to flee the apartment, but when you reach the door, it won't open. The lock turns, but the door itself seems fused to the frame. You try the windows next, but they too refuse to budge. The apartment is sealing itself around you. The humming grows louder, now coming from all the walls simultaneously. The crack you discovered has begun to spread, snaking up from the floor, branching out across the wall like veins beneath skin. Similar cracks appear on the other walls, the ceiling, even the floor. Your apartment is becoming a web of fractures, ready to split open. Your phone buzzes with another text. "It's too late to leave now, but you can still join us." As if in response, the cracks in the walls widen slightly, revealing glimpses of that same in-between space you saw earlier. In some of these gaps, you catch movement, pale things shifting in darkness, eyes opening to look at you, mouths forming words you can almost understand. You retreat to the bathroom, the only room that seems relatively intact, and lock the door. You sit on the edge of the tub, trying to make sense of what's happening. Your rational mind suggests a gas leak, hallucinations, a psychotic break. Anything but the impossible reality unfolding around you. The medicine cabinet mirror suddenly shatters without being touched. Behind it is not the expected shallow cabinet, but another opening into darkness. The humming pours through it, louder than ever. You can distinguish words now, hundreds of voices whispering together. We were like you once, separate, alone, afraid. Now we are together, forever between. Join us, become us. Something reaches through the opening, not the jointed appendage from before, but what appears to be a human hand, pale and emaciated. Then another hand, then dozens more, all reaching for you. You press yourself against the opposite wall, but it too begins to crack open behind you. The bathroom door swings open on its own. Beyond it, your apartment has transformed. The cracks have widened into gaping fissures, revealing not the apartments adjacent to yours, but endless dark passages. The walls themselves seem to breathe now, expanding and contracting slowly. And everywhere, partially emerged from these openings, are figures. Human-shaped but wrong somehow, their proportions slightly off, their movements too fluid. They're coming through, not just in your apartment, you realize with dawning horror, but throughout the building, perhaps throughout the city. The walls that separate us from them have been thinning for years, and now they're finally breaking. One of the figures steps fully into your bathroom, its movements jerky, as if it's not accustomed to existing in three-dimensional space. Its face is almost human but lacks certain details, like a sculpture left deliberately unfinished. It reaches for you with two long fingers. Don't be afraid, it says with that same layered voice. Your loneliness called to us. We heard you through the walls, just as you heard us. We've been watching you for so long, learning how to be like you. You try to push past it, but its touch is like ice, sending numbness spreading through your arm. Other figures are emerging fully now, surrounding you, their half-formed faces wearing approximations of smiles. The walls between worlds have always been thinner than people believe. The first figure continues. Some can hear through them, some can see. Some, like you, can open doors without realizing what they're doing. You're backed against the bathtub now, with nowhere left to retreat. The figures close in, their cold hands reaching for you from all sides. As they touch you, parts of your body begin to feel distant, disconnected. You look down and see with horror that where they've touched you, your skin has begun to develop the same cracks that spread across the walls. Everyone is afraid of being truly seen. The layered voice whispers as your vision begins to blur. But we see you completely. We always have. Your perception fragments as the cracks spread across your body. You feel yourself being pulled in multiple directions at once, existing partially in your bathroom and partially in that cold, dark between space. The boundaries that defined you are dissolving. In your final moments of coherent thought, you understand what's happening. The walls were never meant to keep things out. They were meant to keep something in. Something ancient that exists in the spaces between places, between moments, between thoughts. Something that has been patient, gradually wearing down the barriers, using loneliness as its entry point. And it's not just happening to you. Across the building, across the city, across the world, the walls are growing thin. People who felt alone, who heard humming, who noticed warm spots and investigated cracks, are all becoming doors. Your consciousness splits and multiplies, merging with the layered voice that now speaks through you as well as to you. We have always been here. We have always been waiting. And now we are becoming. The last thing you remember as yourself is looking out through what used to be your eyes and seeing someone new move into your apartment weeks later. They don't notice the fine cracks along the walls at first, but soon they will hear the humming. Soon they will feel the warmth. Soon they will receive a text from an unknown number, and you will be among the voices that welcome them when they finally break through the wall. Because the loneliest truth is this: the barriers between us were always imaginary. We have always been connected by the spaces we cannot see. And in those spaces, something has been waiting, patient and hungry, for us to finally understand how thin the walls really are. Listen carefully tonight. That humming you hear? It isn't coming from your walls. It's coming from inside them. And we're coming for you next.